Hello, everyone. Welcome to Drop Frames. It's Sunday. Zeke is out. We've got a ringer filling in for him. Dan Esquire
Ringers.
Gaming. What?
Yeah.
Huh?
You got ringers.
Ringers. That's true. Yeah, we got two
Yeah.
of them. Dan, how's it going?
2 for 1. Going great. How you guys doing?
Doing well. Doing well.
Good.
A little sleepy. You know, the coffee hasn't kicked in yet. We've got a first timer on the show. It's Sequisha. Welcome.
Ooh.
Glad to have you here.
Hello. Greetings. Pleasure to be here.
The stash, man, it's so profound. It's insane. I said this when I met you at I think the first time at Sacriel's wedding. It's just
Right,
you know,
yeah.
it's big stash.
It commands respect.
It does
You
command
see it.
respect. Yeah. It's a little daunting,
Yeah.
if I'm honest.
I might shave it off this year.
What?
Really?
I mean, if I do, it grows back pretty quick. We'll do like a mustache speed run or something. Yeah, it'd be
I
fun.
don't-
Any particular reason? Just like ready to go stash this
change
for a bit, or-
things up a little bit, because I'm not the mustache. All right, they're like, oh yeah, it's mustache.
I don't want to objectify.
Oh.
True. You're more than your stash. That's
Is
what they
it
say.
like, hey, the eyes are up here, okay?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Have you gotten rid of it before? How does the community react? Have you shaved it before? Do you people not recognize you?
No, but there is always people that are like, you shave it, I'm unsubbing, and I'm just like, all right, we'll see you later. Yeah.
Strong
I shaved my
feelings.
hair.
Okay.
Down 4,000 subs. It like took
Yeah.
3 days, gone. Yeah.
Makes
Or
sense.
just 7 for my hair.
Yeah. Dan keeps saying he's going to grow it back, but it.
Yeah, it's my image now. I can't break
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it's tough
This
out
is
there.
definitely a choice. It's a choice.
Let's start the show and get to know Sequisha a little bit. Why don't you introduce yourself to our communities for people who have not known you? You've been on Twitch for a super long time, I feel.
OG
Yeah.
level.
Yeah.
OG levels for sure.
I mean, almost OG levels.
What
I've
are
been
OG
on for a while.
levels? How long till you're an OG in your
Well,
in
I
your
wasn't.
mind?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I wasn't streaming on Justin TV. So
Okay.
2012 was the first time I streamed. It was like Diablo 3,
Okay.
and then I didn't really start taking it seriously until 2013 or 14. Yeah, late 13. I started off doing game dev stuff on Twitch. Actually, 'cause
Oh.
I was going to school for 3D art and all that stuff, and just kind of rotated into gaming. It wasn't like, all right, we're starting a game stream. Let me get my green screen. All that kind of thing. It
Yeah.
was really just all art and game dev at the beginning. So.
What type of game were you working on back then?
Actually, I was working on a mod for Arma 2 Daisy. It was called Epoch. It was like a base building thing, whole base building survival stuff. So it was pretty popular. There's a lot of people that were playing it and into it. And
Yeah.
also did the same thing for Arma 3 as well. Arma 3 Epoch. But yeah.
What made you gravitate away from that? Did the stream take off or?
Well, yeah, kind of what happened was whenever we test a new build or something, I was playing in the server with everybody else, and I was wrecking a lot of people because I've been playing video games forever, right? And whenever we were doing the testing, I was actually doing the gameplay. The view count was quadruple, 5 times the dev stuff. The dev stuff just never really got a whole lot of attention, or it was a pretty big disparage between the two.
Sure.
And I don't know. I just kind of continued doing that. That's kind of, here we are, many years later, playing video games.
Would you say that you were full time? Did you make the transition once it was the stable transition, or did you just jump in and think let's see if this works?
Yeah, I mean, well, at first, it was a very gradual kind of rotation into it because I was going to school and I was doing my homework on stream, working on a new 3D character and animating it and all this other stuff, and yeah, just kind of, I don't know, just kind of gradually happened because I was still playing gameplay streams and then working on more 3D art, and then I think actually the point in time that it really kind of stuck is certain titles. It got really into Rust at that point. I was like, all right, we're just playing Rust, and then it was miscreated, and then PUBG. PUBG, when PUBG kind of kicked off. I mean, that was a big kind of mecca for a lot of people, a lot of content creators to kind of intermingle and squat up together because everybody, there's a lot of people that were included, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't know. There was a lot of Rust that miscreated for a long time though. So like mainly like survival games.
Would you say that the career started with Rust then, or does this PUBG is PUBG the one where it solidified?
I would say
it?
Arma 2,
Okay.
Daisy, like yeah, probably.
Gotcha.
That was kind of the foundation of it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I want to say I first heard about you through Anthony Kong Fan, I think is
Right.
who introduced me to you. Then we ended up meeting at Sacriel's wedding, and that was when we shared a bottle of whiskey between me, you, Gears,
Right.
and your partner.
I think some random people go like, "Hey man, let me get some whiskey." You're like, "Hey, this isn't just like any regular old whiskey, buddy."
It was Shannon, the bride, because we flew over from the U.S. for whatever reason, gave us a bottle of I think it was Yamazaki 12, which is like a Japanese whiskey, and so I sat down on the couch, and you gravitated toward the couch, and then we didn't move for the rest of the night. I think maybe we got up to get some Krispy Kreme donuts, and that was it.
Right. They also had, what was it called? The stuff Canada was like, it's like cheese on a plate or something.
Was it
Poutine?
Did they have Poutine?
Bar?
Poutine, right.
Yeah. They had Dan. You were there, right?
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah,
I was on that poutine though.
He's like, "You don't remember
I ate
me?"
so much poutine. They had all you can eat. I was just sitting there.
The Poutine bar. I mean, Krispy Kreme and poutine at a wedding reception. It's like,
Very Shannon wedding.
It was a very Shannon wedding. Yeah, I'm surprised that we didn't end up a little bit more sick than we did leaving that thing with how much alcohol and everything that was involved. It was a good time though.
So some of the clips that are going on here, it looks like someone's playing Epoch, which was kind of a mod on top of mod. Like there was already DayZ mod, right? And then like what we did was the like added an economy system, and like all the vehicles that are around the map, you could go find a truck, on the road somewhere, fix it up, or bring it to the trader city and sell it for like currency. And then you could buy other weapons with it and like base building items and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Same with helicopters or airplanes. Like you'd find an AC-130 like in the woods. You'd have to chop down trees and go fly it, land at the airfield, go sell that for whatever. So,
and then you would would get guns and things with that. That was kind of the loop. Yeah.
Right.
So are you still involved at all with the project, or is the project even still kind of continuing?
No, it was like we did it for Arma 3, and we had to do a whole like full conversion thing. Like we didn't use anything from like DayZ mod or whatever else. Created our own like characters, our own like antagonists and all that kind of stuff. And then I think they were working on doing it kind of a similar mod for standalone. But I don't know. I think I don't know. Everyone's got their own thing going on, and it wasn't really like generating any revenue. Like no one could live off it because we were working on a mod and someone else's stuff. So like,
right.
I don't know. Yeah, it just kind of tapered off, I guess.
Do the mod making communities rely on like Patreon and stuff now? Is that where they've kind of gone?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, probably more than likely, because I mean, anyone who doesn't like, you can't really generate revenue off of someone else's stuff like that anyway. So I think most of it is going to be some type of crowdsourced monetization.
That makes sense. This is the I believe this is the Arma 2 version,
right?
Which is
right.
I don't know how old this VOD is. I could check real quick.
Yeah, a lot of it. There was a lot of quality of life stuff too, like
it's a 9-year-old video, by the way.
Yeah,
pretty lengthy. What were you saying? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh yeah, no, just the Epoch in general, aside from the currency stuff, is a lot of quality of life things, like being able to lock vehicles to someone. So if you had it outside your base, someone couldn't just hop into the driver's seat and take off. You need like a key for it and all that stuff.
That makes sense. Do you ever miss the game development side of things? Do you ever want to go back to that?
Oh yeah, I probably will. We've just been kind of trailing along, doing this, and I kind of take every day or every month or year like as it goes. But I think eventually, back into game dev is probably where I'm going to be.
Yeah, you don't think this is the full-time thing? You'll eventually go back.
Yeah, we'll have it'll be the year 2035. We'll be doing shuffleboard speed runs or something like. Yeah,
something like that.
Right.
What game would you go?
Screen name.
Oh, okay, yeah, good question. Ask again, Dan. I might have talked over you.
Oh,
how'd you come up with your screen name?
Right. Actually, I was playing World of Warcraft and random name generator, and then kind of scrambled some of the. I think it came out as like Liquisha is one of them, and I just put an S in front of it, kind of mix it up a little bit. But yeah, I think World of Warcraft's actually a origin for a lot of people's screen names, or like or their Xbox tag or whatever, and it just kind of sticks.
Old school MMOs.
Yeah.
That's where mine came from.
Right.
EverQuest 1.
I think that's about the same. Dan just put gaming after his though, so I mean,
Yeah, we're not all creative. Okay?
You go with what works. You go with what works.
Yeah.
that's exactly right. Cool. I'm trying to think like you exist in a weird bubble. I will say on Twitch, like for example, you're streaming PoE this morning, but I wouldn't consider you a PoE streamer. But
Right.
you had like
Yeah.
it was your community's super into it, which I think is in a lot of ways bizarre. I think most people would go to play PoE at this point in an unhyped time for PoE and immediately see a drop, right? Like that's the trends are that you play around a season. But your community seems to not care and you just kind of played PoE and it seems to work out. It's very weird for me to see that and wild for me to see that. To kind of buck the trends.
Right. Like with Path of Exile, there's a lot of meta and there's a lot of trends anyway. Like if you're not blasting through the maps a lot of time, like I don't know, I'm just kind of like I'm trying to take a different, like just trying to take a different approach. Not like hey, we're gonna read up all the guides and I'm blasting through. Like that's why I really like the Ruthless mode, where like there's just no drops, and I feel a lot of people aren't doing that. So that's probably why some people are like, oh okay, like playing super hardcore. Crazy, whatever.
Is this still your first character, the one you were playing today in Ruthless mode?
No, that one died. But we've been running it back. I'm used to losing everything and like starting fresh from playing games like Rust or wipes in Tarkov or whatever. So,
yeah. How far did you get then on the first, or how far have you gotten on your furthest character?
I was doing maps. I was playing a Juggernaut.
Oh,
I was doing maps, and it was like a really high level heist. I just got blown up by. I got hit by like a shock or something, and then like two of these massive orbs just. I mean, the Juggernaut was nearly unkillable, except for that.
Yeah. I think all three of us have played PoE. I never dabbled with the Ruthless thing though when that came out. That's too. I would say it's I don't even play hardcore, so it's way too hardcore for me. It seems like a nightmare. Seems like a lot of a struggle.
Ruthless is hardcore plus significantly less loot.
Oh well, I think you can play it softcore as well, but I'm playing it hardcore. But like to put things into perspective, I think this character is level 53, and I've only found one alchemy orb. Only one's dropped. So like everything else, I mean, it's just like super. Yeah. There's not a whole lot of drops. Yeah. You really got to ration everything, and I think instead of going in with a build in mind, you have to whatever drops for you. You need to kind of shape. Tailor it, cater to that, because you can't buy support gems from the vendors. Like there's just all kinds of stuff. There's no crafting table. Like I don't know. It's definitely it's a little rough.
Yeah, here's this is the VOD from this morning. I don't. I think
said no movement skills.
Yeah, no movement skills
at all. Right? They just don't exist in the mode.
Well, I think there's a couple that you might be able to like. I think there's the mirror shot or something like that where you shoot to location, you teleport there, but that's it's too risky. But but most movement skills like dash or leap slam or all that stuff is just not even in the game.
That's a lot.
Or that mode rather.
That is hardcore.
It's ruthless.
It's a little bit much. Yeah. Do you
how many people have like cleared some of the in-game bosses with that mode?
Actually,
if anyone has.
Right. There was something that popped up in chat like, "Hey, this person's experienced this for the first time." It was one of the like crazy
Shaper Elder or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
It was like just yesterday, I think.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, I know it's insane. I think like at least on League launch, a couple of the like Kriparian plays in. I think Zizaran has played it a little bit. But the progression might just be too slow, right? Because like you're level I think you're 50 here, and you're still on some 3 links, and that's like pretty good. Yeah, 54, you're still on 3 link stuff. So just seems hard.
Yeah, it's definitely slowed down like quite a bit. That's why I feel like if anyone's kind of in a they're not really sure what to play. I think it's probably not bad for somebody who likes ARPGs and likes hardcore stuff and is not used to the normal pacing of Path of Exile. It might be, fun for a newer player because you're not blasted by all kinds of content in the game.
Yeah.
Kind of teaches you a little bit more slowly, even though it is kind of challenging.
How much PoE have you played in general?
I played a bunch a long time ago, like 5, 6, 7 years ago, and then took a break for a really long time, and then only recently returned to it, like maybe like probably about a week before the last Dark and Darker test.
Okay.
So I don't have a whole lot of experience playing it, but
yeah,
in the grand scheme of things.
Were you inundated with a billion league mechanics when you came back? Was that super...
yeah.
I mean, the past 5 years they've added so much.
Right. I mean, I've learned a pretty good bit.
Like 3 games.
Some of them I kind of skip.
Yeah, there's so much stuff that's been added. It's a little daunting, I would say. And then you decided to make it even harder on yourself by going Ruthless. So
it's harder, but it's also easier in the same respect, because like a lot of people love the backseat coming from people. It's just null and void because it doesn't apply to Ruthless because they don't know because they don't play it. So it's kind of funny.
That's true. I guess that's a good You don't.
I got to admit, I do really like the idea of, and this is going to sound weird. Let me just say that right now. This is going to sound weird.
Weird comment.
I really like the idea of PoE with less and more focused loot. I kind of wish there was a mode that you could do like a normal thing, but with just less loot. Because that's one of the things that inevitably overwhelms me in the game is just like getting this paralysis of like, needing to check every single item and making sure all the substats line up, and the fear of selling something amazing because I had no idea it was good, and like the idea of like having a very small pool so you can really kind of pour over and make sure things are good or not, yet still keep the gameplay up and stuff. Like that's actually sounds kind of cool.
Yeah, there
isn't a Ruthless like they're going to be doing soon, and actually you saying that kind of reminds me of something. When I first started playing a long time ago, I remember I was like level 30 or something, and somebody's like, "Oh, here, man, I got something for you." They gave me one of the tabula rasas or whatever, the 6 link.
Yep.
And like I was like, "Man, this thing sucks, man. It doesn't have any stats." And I like vendored it.
Oh, you just straight up sold it?
Chad's like, "No, what are you doing?" Yeah, because I mean, I used it for a little bit. I was like, "Man, this kind of sucks, man. I appreciate it though." Just like vendored it.
Oh man, that's I think it was Eris who had a mirror drop, and then he deleted it.
Like, really, a mirror? No way.
I think that was Eris. I think he was playing the PlayStation version of the game, and a mirror dropped, and I think he just deleted it because chat like that's kind of a troll, but yeah,
right.
It trolled him to delete it, or did he know?
I think he trolled his chat by he sold it. Did he sell it? Maybe he just sold it.
That's saying Dan did that too.
Dan, did you get a mirror and sell it?
Yeah, I got a mirror, and I didn't sell it because it was so early in the league, no one could afford to buy it at that point. But I did have one drop, and there was lots of conspiracy theories that it was rigged for me because I was a streamer. And that DGD gave it to me to promote the game or something. It was a whole conspiracy thing.
Was that during the login league where like GGG allowed all the?
It was like my second league ever. Like it was very early. I just like my second time playing a league, and it dropped.
Okay. I had erased that from my memory because I think I was so jealous.
Yeah,
I forgot that you had gotten a mirror. Yeah,
I did not realize at the time exactly how rare the mirror was because some people were telling me they've played for thousands and thousands of hours and never had one. Ever.
Yeah. I'm at like 2,000. I've never seen one. I've never even seen one in like an inventory trade.
I don't even know what a mirror looks like, man. It's
yeah,
it looks like you.
Yeah, that's right. Right, you're just staring into a mirror. Yeah, I guess me and Co still have a standing pact, but it's our PoE days we're not as crazy at it, I think, as we once were.
You especially.
Yeah.
I was always like I come for a league, I check it out a few times, usually maybe get to maps, and then I go. But I mean you've got very far many times.
Yeah.
Still do. Yeah, so
I'll spend like a 24-30 hour with it a league. But the past couple leagues, and I guess Sequisha, you maybe avoid this playing Ruthless. Past couple leagues haven't been that great, but in Ruthless, you might not even need to experience that much of
right. Well, because you don't get the opportunity to experience any of the content,
yeah.
But yeah, I have heard that from the community that the last couple. I mean, I think even the new league right now, the Sanctum stuff, I'm not a big fan of, but I think the game is in a good place right now. So
Yeah.
like, you know,
Yeah.
I think
We'll
a lot
see.
of people are in a holding pattern for 2 as well. I mean, that's going to be such a
Yeah.
huge, awesome jump. I know that's like what I'm mostly looking forward to. And the thing
Right.
is, and it's interesting because we talked about this. What was it last week? I think we talked about how a lot of times, a good example is like with Destiny. You know, if they were to announce a Destiny 3, then people would start getting so excited for that the expansions in Destiny 2 between now and then would kind of have a feel lackluster because everyone's so hyped for this thing in the future and they know they're going to go play that. It's kind of like, you know, why do I want to kind of focus on this? And granted, PoE is a little different since 2 is going to kind of stack on 1. It still feels like, you know, we're going to have to relearn everything in 2. It's going to be like, we're all going to want to start new characters in 2 and experience all that new stuff. So, you know, since we know it's coming, it kind of makes all this stuff just feel like filler instead of like the next big thing. And
Right.
yeah.
I still feel like they announced PoE 2 too early, to their own detriment. Like every single time the league starts or they do a new thing every 3 months, number one comment, which you just kind of said, is like, when is PoE 2 coming out? Like, I don't want to jump in till PoE 2.
Hopefully, the big show's back this year in New Zealand.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll get some good solid info then, and you know, stuff will start moving.
Yeah. Exile. I think that's June or July, something like that, this summer.
End of July, I believe.
End of July. Okay. I think the league starts 2 weeks after that or something. They've had a news announcement where it's like, yeah, if you're going to spend extra time, if you're traveling and you want to spend extra time in New Zealand, do it before instead of after, because you're going to want to get home and play the new league or something like that. So maybe they'll have some sort of PoE 2 thing attached to all of that, I'm sure. And then I think the other thing too, aside from PoE 2, is everyone's like, yeah, I'm just going to wait for Diablo 4. Right? Like, I'm sure you see this streaming the game as of this morning. How much Diablo 4 conversation do you get in your chat? Like, is that kind of the main thing?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Not really, because I mean, you know, there's a lot of okay. So like with Path of Exile 2, I think they've been waiting for Diablo 4 to launch, and then they're like, okay, as an answer to it, you know. But Diablo 4. I mean, I really liked Diablo 3 when it first came out until I kind of figured out, or I kind of realized myself, I felt the game was kind of soulless and, you know, just kind of moved on to other things. And like, hopefully Diablo 4 is not like that. I imagine they have a lot of new blood that loved the games, you know, like Diablo 2, like growing up as well. That, you know, but I don't know. I'm just really kind of concerned that I haven't heard anything about the itemization, the items. Like, you think like if it's something they're proud of, they would have talked about that to a great extent. And I know nothing. I don't even know what an item looks like in Diablo 4. That's kind of concerning to me personally. But I'll play it anyway. And if it sucks, you know, move along to the next thing. So.
Yeah. Are all of us going to jump into the beta in like 2 weeks?
Yes,
I've been
absolutely
super excited.
And and to answer your question, actually, I'm getting asked about that almost daily.
Yeah.
The hype levels for Diablo 4 seem pretty high. I think a lot of people want to pass the beta that I've seen because they want to, you know, have it be new. Yep. A lot of viewers and chatters have been saying that they don't want to play the beta because they kind of want to experience everything when it comes out. But at the same time, like, I think a lot of people are in the same boat that I am, where I want to see if it's good. Like, I'm very interested to see if this is going to be like the next big step, or if it's going to be like the stuff about Diablo 3 I didn't really like. You know, I'm very interested to see some of these new mechanics that they've been kind of championing at some of the little preview shows they've done. Like the kind of, I'm very interested. For instance, are they going to have some of those like almost what do they call them? They've got a term for them, the world quests, or where you basically run up on a mob and there's a bunch of other players fighting them. I want to see how those work. I want to see if those are fun. You know, like that. There's some really interesting stuff they're doing. Also, open world Diablo. Saying that sounds weird. I wonder how they're going to pull that off. So, yeah, a lot of questions.
Yeah, a lot of unanswered questions. Like, if you're playing solo hardcore, are you just not going to be able to participate in world boss like encounters, or like how are they like?
Are they going to expect you to solo them? And also, that brings up another good question. Like for people that are doing more hardcore playthroughs, is there, since the game is open world, obviously like the challenge has to get harder, and they have announced, I think, some kind of system where no matter where you go, the challenge is kind of around you. I don't know if they're using a level locking kind of system, but you know, is there going to have to be like a certain path so you don't just get murdered by bosses when you're playing solo and stuff like that? Like, it's going to be, yeah, it's going to be interesting. And somebody in chat said those aren't new mechanics; it's MMO tech. It's new mechanics to the Diablo franchise.
Yeah.
I mean, these days there's never any new mechanics anywhere, but it's new interpretations and new arenas to put those in. So
yeah, but that's MMO tech, man.
yeah. I mean, hell, dude, the World Quest thing, that was Warhammer Online. I remember in Warhammer
that was the
Online,
first
people
one
were
that did it.
flipping it. Absolutely, and it was awesome. And now they're everywhere.
The game was so cool. My computer was trash at the time that came out. Anytime there was more than like 30 people, it was just like 2 FPS.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
That
if
was
you
me with
experienced that,
Shadowbane. If you ever played that game, oh my god,
that game ran like shit too.
I was a siege leader in Shadowbane, and it literally felt like I was yelling at people over Ventrilo at the time while watching a PowerPoint presentation. So I would like tell everyone to go somewhere, and then I have to like wait for the next slide to load to see if anyone did or what happened. And
right.
That sounds about right. Those games.
You can tell with Diablo 4 that they are inspired by Lost Ark and Path of Exile. They want that in-game store, and they want the multiplayer component of Lost Ark, but they want to put it in a Diablo shell. And if they could pull it off, it's going to be great. But track record with Blizzard with some games lately has been kind of iffy, so I'm excited to try the beta. I've known people that have played the beta, and they say that it plays really well, and it's a lot more like 2 than it was 3, because most people that like 2 did not like 3 as much. So I'm excited to like see like what it's gonna be like. Is it gonna feel like Diablo with some multiplayer on top, or will that multiplayer get in the way of it feeling like how Diablo is supposed to feel, which is like alone and desperate and in like hopeless situations? So we'll see when the beta comes out. I think it's on the 17th for the early access beta.
Yep.
And then the next weekend has the open beta.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to miss the early access, but I'll jump into the open the following weekend. But I'm really curious how much there will actually be playing in that first weekend, right? Like server issues are gonna probably rear up. They've basically said they're doing this test for multiplayer purposes to make sure the servers are going to be sound. And if there's any indication of past Diablo experiences.
I mean, think about Blizzard's last big online release. What was it? Overwatch 2. They couldn't keep the servers up for days. Yeah, even longer. So it's gonna. If anyone's expecting better, bad news for you.
Yeah.
This beta is actually early enough that they could make some significant changes before the launch in June. Like if people give feedback, there is actual time. Unlike a lot of betas where like there's no time to really adjust anything, it's more of a promo for the game. This is like early enough that they could actually change some stuff if they wanted to.
That is
rebalance
true.
and tweak.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too, I feel like when it comes to the Blizzard audience and the Diablo audience, they're like pretty vocal, right? So if there's something that they don't like, they're gonna let them know very quickly.
Oh yeah.
I was talking with my chat the other day. Could you imagine in today's current like gaming world if Diablo 3 launched and how much more of a shit show that would be in today's day and age with how much of a shit show it was back then when the servers just like didn't work for the first week.
Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah.
I remember people that like took time off work and stuff. It's like, my wife's gonna leave me and stuff because the servers are not.
Yeah, it was a rough time. I was in New York at the time, and I was working for MLG and played out of the MLG studios and said like, yeah, I'm not working today because I think the servers came up at like 7 a.m. or 3 a.m. or something like that, and it was weird because they didn't work, and so I just sat there in the studio looking at error 37 for a pretty significant amount of time in that first 24 hours, and it was not a good time. So. Yeah. If that echoes and if that repeats for Diablo 4, it'll be. I am wondering what that'll look like in the grand world of video games these days. You would hope they know what to expect, right? Like, I think server issues are kind of always going to be a thing, especially when you have that many people trying to play. But hopefully they figure it out and they get the feedback they need, and hopefully it launches fine. I don't think it's going to no matter what. But hopefully it does.
Yeah. I mean, if not anything else,
Yeah.
They can try to hit up the Dark and Darker devs for tips on like server scaling, because
Yeah.
they did that really well.
I don't know the numbers for Dark and Darker, but Diablo 3 is
Right.
what
Yeah.
was it?
It's gonna be a lot more. Oh, I was gonna say I think they capped out on Steam at over 100,000, but it's gonna be a drop in the bucket compared to Diablo 4 and how many people are doing it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think Diablo 3 sold like 30 million plus or something lifetime. And so it's a massive IP. I'm very curious how that stuff will go. Even outside of all the gameplay stuff, and if people are going to enjoy it, I'm just starting with like, is it going to work? Like, are you going to be able to get in and like create a character and play and go and kill mobs and all that stuff?
JP, I think you're being a little hard on Blizzard. They're just a small indie company trying to make it in this world. Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a really good point, Dan. I'm glad somebody brought that up.
It's true. It's
Thank
tough
you.
out there for Blizzard. They don't have that much funds and resources, and it's really rough. It's really rough. We'll see if they can.
And everyone's so mean to their CEO. Just
Yeah, he's got to
really
go.
just-
Kodak's he's got a rough time, right? Like it's tough being Bobby out there. You gotta be careful. Gotta be careful.
Why does that guy in that cinematic look like, or that cutscene looks like one of the characters from one of the later Mortal Kombats?
Yes,
Mortal
I know who
Kombat
you're
4 or
talking
5?
about.
Yeah.
It starts with a Q, doesn't it?
Right. Something like that.
Shit. God damn it. Someone in chat say it so we can move forward, because otherwise we're not going to be able to.
Quan Chi?
Quan Chi, there you
Yeah.
go. Yeah, he does look very much like Quan Chi. They announced another, or showed, they've got 2 statues out for this game now, by the way, for anyone curious. They have Lilith statue, which is this character you're about to see. And then they announced the Angel, Anarius, I think, is on sale. Anarius is $1,200 if you're wanting to jump in. And it's, I think, bigger than Lilith, but like, I don't know, for $1,200 if that's worth jumping in for. I also
That's
like
a deal right there.
I also like that the game's not even out and they've got 2 statues for that price. It's kind of, I think if you had to like summarize Blizzard these days, that's a good way to do it. That's a good way to do it. I'm curious, Sequisha, did you jump into Diablo Immortal at all? Did you play that?
No.
Yeah, you just stayed away from
I
it
try to
completely?
stay off my phone as much as possible.
Yeah, no desktop.
I also
client
like
for
how
you?
that was prefaced with a laugh.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I think that also puts some more like, I don't know, ire towards Blizzard with Diablo. So
Well, I mean, I hope they just did all the MTX stuff they're trying to do, pay to win stuff. They shoved that all into Immortal, and that's fine. If you want that kind of stuff, and then hopefully Diablo 4 will be like, I don't know. I would be really surprised if they do any kind of weird, pay to win stuff, because like
I don't think they can.
they're already walking on thin ice.
Yeah.
I got to be honest. I don't think they're going to pay to win, but I think they're going to. I think honestly, what we're seeing with Acti Blizzard is what we saw with Bethesda, where it's like they're not necessarily going to pay to win, but they're going to just see how far they can push it. They're just going to and they're going to toe the line every so often, and they're going to get called out, and they know that, and that's when they're going to reel it in and be champions because they're listening to feedback. But we're going to see them go as far as they can with it. No question.
What is that though? Like, how far can they go with it?
Think with Diablo Immortal, how how much they blurred the line with those tokens that got more loot to drop by saying, oh, it's not pay to win, you can just buy these tokens that the gems or whatever that make things it's going to be probably not quite as bad, because I think they felt that they had a little bit more freedom in the mobile realm, just because the mobile realm is, put it bluntly, more forgiving of that kind of stuff, because it's so rampant with it.
Right.
I mean, they wished, I'm sure, that desktop gaming was like that, but everyone knows it's not, thankfully. But I think we'll probably see stuff like the season pass stuff that we heard about in that last thing, with the premium pass and things like that. Maybe we'll start seeing stuff slide onto there that has like maybe just a little bit more than people are comfortable with, and they're going to see how that reacts. And then if it's not too big, they'll push a little further in the next month, and that's where they're trying to get the foot in the door. Is the best way.
That's
to
how
say
they
it.
sneak
They're
it
trying
in.
to get the foot in the door. Yeah, exactly.
Slipping it into
Sneaking
the
it
battle
in.
pass, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Bethesda on Fallout 76, they promised that it was only going to be a cosmetic store. You've got nothing to worry about, just cosmetics. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, that's weird. You can buy repair boxes to repair your weapons that you normally have to use materials for. And people flipped out a little bit. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait, now you can just buy a robot and he just goes and gets loot for you. Oh, okay, cool. So, again, it was that foot in the door. It was no, cosmetics only. And then, oh, no, now you can buy repair kits. And now you can buy a robot. And, and then it was the subscription. So it's just like,
It's just convenience. It's not pay to win.
Yeah, you're
It's
paying for
convenient to have a
convenience.
robot.
Yeah.
It is. Yes, it is. Very convenient.
God. Yeah. Well,
slowly boil the frog. That's exactly right, chat.
That's right.
You just got to turn the heat up a little bit more and more.
yeah.
So you're
I can
cooked
imagine
enough for
with
them to
Diablo
eat you.
4, every week there's going to be new mounts to buy, new outfits, cosmetics to buy, just like PoE. They're going to take that, but it's going to be a full paid game on top of it. They're just going to keep releasing these cosmetic stuff and finding more things they can put cosmetics on to just keep selling them.
Yeah.
It's going to get nutty.
Let's get nutty.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
God, it's gonna be it's gonna be a little tiring, I think, to just hear and see that conversation nonstop between now and probably launch, and then even after launch, right? Because then once Diablo 4 is out, then it's gonna be like, well, what's PoE 2 gonna? How is PoE 2 gonna answer this? What is that? And then you're gonna have like Diablo 4 versus PoE 2, which kind of already exists, but I think that's gonna even go into full effect after that. It's just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My hope with Diablo 4, though.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
My hope with Diablo 4, though, is that my naive hope is that the gameplay will stay great, and we'll just have all this stuff on top of it, this cosmetic stuff that just funds more dungeons, more battles, more bosses over time, and that they don't touch the gameplay. They just sort of keep this cosmetic thing in the store to fund the development of the game. That's my naive hope, but we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, I did.
Co-EM.
Yeah, that might be a little bit of cope for sure.
But hey, that's the dream, right? That's the dream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what is it? Julia just said in chat. It's like, imagine making an awesome game and being happy with the money they make by selling millions of copies out of good word of mouth instead of being slimy corporate worms. And that's a very good way to say that, I think, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But then and that all ties into the conversation we've had numerous times on this show, where the problem with that is that now these companies are so big that there's a lot of people that work there that don't play games. They don't care about games. Their entire position inside the company is to maximize profits.
Right.
So in their mind, they don't care if the game's great. They don't care if the game's good. They don't care how it reviews. They don't care what people think of it. They don't care if people are happy while they play it. All they care about is that they bought it and they keep putting money into it. And that's how they get bonuses at their job that are tangible and let them buy more yachts. That's and yachts are important.
You gotta have a yacht.
Yachts are pretty sick.
Gotta have a yacht, man.
Yachts are pretty cool. Yeah, they're important.
Absolutely.
They need to add a yacht skin, like in the cosmetic store.
Turns your character into
just
a
little
yacht.
a little cute
yacht pet,
toy yacht that follows you around, little yacht pet.
Don't give them ideas. They'll do that. It'll be the like most selling pet that they've ever put out. Yeah. Sequisha, you were gonna say something before? I think the same time as Dan. Remember?
Oh, right. Diablo 3. Have you seen Diablo 3? I know some people are diving back in. They're like, "Hey, getting ready for Diablo 4." I don't even recognize that game. I don't remember it looking like what it looks like right now.
I was watching a bunch of people play the new league that just started. Like mods.
I don't remember the game looking like that. And like the UI too, it almost looks like Grim Dawn. Like, did it always look like that? Like with the character screen and everything else?
I don't know. I think it's wild.
One of them copied each other.
Really?
Grim Dawn came out after Diablo, right?
That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Grim Dawn was like trying to capitalize on the Diablo 3 thing and they were very, very close for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. That being said, it's kind of funny because a lot of people like Grim Dawn significantly more than Diablo 3 these days. So it's, sometimes it works. Sometimes it works.
Yeah. I do know that the new league they seem to be enjoying it. I think mods is like Paragon level 2800 or some shit. People on the leaderboards are like 4100, which is an insane number at this point in that game. But yeah, I think because it's the final league before Diablo 4, or final season, I think is what they call it in the world of Diablo 3. They kind of just like pumped all the numbers up, and things are just like everything's broken, and so the game's in a really fun state where you can kind of just
have fun.
Have fun.
Just
Yeah.
blast.
Just blast through it.
I
Because
feel
why
like the game
not?
has needed a number crunch for a long time. I saw someone playing, it was like 2.2 billion. I was like, what? Where does this math come from? What is all that about?
Yeah, just insane amounts of damage for sure. But yep, 2 weeks. We'll see what happens with Diablo 4. I think it'll be an interesting time regardless of what happens. The conversation will be thick and plentiful, I'm sure. So we'll be talking about it on the show and everywhere else on the internet, without a doubt. Taking a look at a little bit of the news, we finally got Elden Ring announcement for DLC.
Right after we talked about it.
Right after we talked about it last week. Yeah, Shadow of the Erdtree, they announced is currently in development. They said, we hope you look forward to the new adventures in the lands between. They didn't say anything else apart from that. Sequisha, are you a Souls gamer at all? Do you play any of the Souls titles?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. I mean, I'm relatively fresher to them, but like when I dove in, I went through, Dark Souls 1, skipped Dark Souls 2, went to Dark Souls 3, and then Elden Ring. I played a lot of it.
Okay, fantastic.
I did a lot of PvP, like invasions too.
Yeah.
Doing weird stuff like you all played Elden Ring, I imagine, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
I think we all
You know that
three.
one elevator before the library chick with all the babies everywhere?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was doing invasions around there, and I would do like this golden drop slam down the elevator, and like one shot everybody and knock them off the elevator. It was a lot of fun.
How many did that work every time? Do you have any fails where you just didn't hit anything?
Oh, I mean, of course. I mean, I was doing it for like 3 or 4 days straight. I mean, you're bound to fail at some point. But a lot of people fell off, and it was like, teams of 3, whatever. Then I'd have the 1v1 with a person who didn't fall off the ladder, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Where is PvP in a good state in that game right now? Do you know?
I don't know. I haven't played it in a while. I did it a bunch at launch. I know you kind of I had to create a new character and then like get up to a certain level because you have to be within a certain level range for it to, for you to actually be like paired up with other people in the areas you're invading. So
Yeah.
it's probably really broken at some point. People spamming a certain type of spell, I'm sure.
Yeah. I think they also said somewhere, I'm trying to find the exact quote, that this would come out after Armored Core, and Armored Core is still scheduled to release this year. So I find that
Just
a little hard
awesome.
to believe. Yeah, if it does
Oh my
launch
God,
this year,
dude.
that's crazy in my eyes. But could mean that we're 9
year,
months
man.
out or a year out from seeing this DLC.
This year, we were sitting down and really thinking about it. Like, this is the year of remakes and sequels. Like, we've had, Dead Space get remake, Resident Evil 4 is getting remake. We've got Baldur's Gate coming back after 20 years. We've got Dead Island 2. People have been waiting for that. With Street Fighter 6. We've got Armored Core 6. I mean, it just gets like a Dragon Ishin got ported over. Breath of the Wild 2.
Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's System Shock is getting remade this year.
Right.
Metroid Prime just got remastered. Final Fantasy 16, the next, it just gets Diablo 4. It gets more and more and more. And it's just like, holy shit, man. Like every game is like all major titles are getting like a new game this year.
Yeah.
I know. I can't wait until they all come out. 'Cause I
Stalker
feel like
2. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm digging through the couch right now trying to find something to play. It's like, what are all these launches, man?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Jedi Survivor. Final Fantasy VII Remake 2 Rebirth, I guess.
Part 2.
But it's just more and more and more and more. Tekken 8, I think, is next year. I don't think Tekken 8 is going to make it.
Yeah, I think that's
announcement?
2024.
I think.
Yeah.
It's
Definitely a
new
stacked
Assassin's
year.
Creed.
Makes you wonder what next year is going to look like, right? Is next year
Probably
going
like
to
last
be
year.
a dead zone? Yeah, just like large swaths of time in between game launches, etc. We'll have to see.
Yeah, we got Sons of the Forest. We got The Last of Us remake. It's just people in chat just keep it like more and more and more. It's crazy.
So many.
What about the VR titles? Like, there hasn't been
Not much.
like
Yeah.
any real crazy solid ones since like Alex.
Yeah.
Like Alex. I haven't really seen anything else. I feel like a lot of companies are just like, well, I mean, I guess VR is out. Let's go on to the next thing. Which kind of sucks.
They have Resident Evil 8 got put into VR. I haven't played it yet, but if it's as good as 7, like 7 was awesome.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people had a lot of faith in Horizon's VR title, and apparently it's okay.
It was fine from the reviews.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's fun. Like, I think a lot of people wanted the next. That's what everyone's waiting for. Everyone's waiting for the next Alex. I have a whole freaking VR room. I'm waiting for the next Alex. It's like I want Alex again.
Yeah.
That was such a great experience. I'm about to freaking just play Alex again.
They got mods
but
out
yeah.
for it. They have like full mod packages for that game. Go if you want to jump in.
Apparently,
Cool, Thomas the Tank mod.
Yeah, there you go.
apparently, No Man's Sky is pretty great in VR. Their last big update added a lot to VR as well, and it was already pretty good in VR. And now apparently, it's great in VR.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we need a Half-Life Alex Star Wars VR game. That's what we
Sure.
need. Where you like play, you have a lightsaber and it's like a full action adventure and like lots of awesome stuff. You're looking at giant ships go above you and fighting giant monsters with your lightsaber. Like that's what we need. We need somebody to throw just millions and millions of dollars into this and just make like the best VR Star Wars game ever. Get on it. Yeah,
It's a giant
money.
gamble.
That's how you're gonna get it.
Yeah.
Come on,
The
man.
problem with VR is like there's just that speed bump of getting people to buy the system, and it's just like, and then you need games for people to want to buy the system. So it's like this: who's going to do it first? Who's going to either
Like a
get
catch
more
22 right?
VRs? Yeah, who's get more VR systems in people's hands, or who's going to make a game that makes everyone have to buy one, like to play it?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I played Horizon; it was pretty fun, but it's just like mostly
How much of it is
climb
just
in
like all the VR
it.
stuff that you've already experienced, right? Like there's
It's like there's nothing really new in it. Like, you shoot your little arrow by doing this with your hand, and it's cute and stuff, but it's like, how would they just have a controller, honestly?
yeah.
And I'm like a lot of people where I get motion sick if I play for too long, or get headaches if I play for too long, and that's always been a problem too. Because it's just like you got to get used to it, and you got to play for a long time to get used to it over time. But yeah, it's like it's fun, but it's like when I'm playing, I'm like, I could just play a game and in the normal way, easier and for longer, and that's always been a problem for me.
Yeah.
Is it's cool to try it out and fiddle around with the new toy, but then they don't have the games or to keep me playing for long periods of time. They're not like any 100-hour RPG for me to sink my teeth into to like really like use it for long term. I think that's something that they need is like some big AAA game to like get people to want to like invest their time into it.
Yeah.
And then talk about it with their friends to get them to want to buy it and stuff.
Yeah, this past week, Reggie Fils-Aimé, who's the former head of Nintendo of America, basically just tweeted out an image that was a chart that was saying, like, is VR gaming destined to remain niche? And he just said, until there's a, quote, must-play experience, this will be true. And everyone was like, yeah, Reggie's right. Like, there's got to be a must-play experience, and no one's willing to, I think, to dive in because it is a little bit of a gamble. Right, you don't know if you're going to get that return.
Well, and another big thing is, and I think Dan kind of nailed this a little bit when he was mentioning it. It anytime you make a VR game, not only are you limiting the available pool of players to only people that own the VR system, unless you bundle it with one, but it's like then you're only talking like you literally can set maximum sale things. Like the max we can sell of this game is however many people have these VR headsets. Unless you do something crazy and make it so you can play it in VR or not in VR, but then it gets like tacked on and it's not as interesting or fun. So it kind of sucks for people that want VR. It's just going to kind of need to be the thing where headsets get cheap enough to where you can just, you can buy, here's the VR game for $60. Here's the VR with the headset for $90.
Yeah.
Just something you can just throw in there.
Oh,
did you solve it? Let's hear it.
Sequisha game developer hat. Here we go.
Here we go.
Also, am I in a delay a little bit? I think maybe my audio is in delay. I feel like I'm almost interrupting you guys sometimes.
Oh no,
Sorry,
that just
my bad.
happens. Yeah, that's just
okay,
thing.
okay.
Feel free to just interrupt us, please.
How about
just
this?
interrupt
The
us.
game, this might be the $1 billion idea, okay? The game launches in both like, regular and VR, but in order to, it'll be an asymmetrical, like a 1v4, 1v5. Everyone else, the normal survivors or whatever, are playing on regular like PC or console or whatever. And in order to play the antagonist, you would have to play it in VR set. It would help with queuing. It would, and maybe it was a big like giant or something like that. I don't know. That could be pretty interesting. I don't know, because not everybody would be. You wouldn't be able to play the monster, the antagonist, unless you had a freaking VR set.
Yeah,
So maybe
I like it.
maybe there's something to that.
like a hybrid thing. Yeah,
yeah.
could work. I didn't see this news. Someone in chat pointed it out. This past week, on March 1st, at least that's when this article was published, Meta sold 20 million Quest headsets.
Really?
I didn't know that.
It is so unfortunate that it's garbage.
That's wild to me that they've sold 20 million of those.
Wait, the Quest, is that the newer one or the older one? I have the Index.
Quest 2 is the one that they're trying to push Meta on.
According to The Verge, who reported on this, when they say Quest headsets, it includes Quest 1, Quest 2, and Quest Pro into all of that. So it's kind of like all three headsets is one type deal. I've sold over 20 million. That's still kind of crazy.
Meanwhile, in the back, Mike, Mr. Zuckerberg is like, so we sold 20 million Quests. I bought 10 million. But it's a big milestone. Someone had to buy them.
Yeah.
We needed the warehouse space.
I know a lot of funny enough, a lot of parents have gotten Quest for their kids, and it's becoming the like, here, play with this new iPad type deal. They just hand them a Quest and they go into the world of VR. And that's where kids are wanting to exist these days outside of the iPad crap or the phone stuff. So I think that's where they're all going, which probably means the software is going to be of that level, right? You don't need a giant AAA massive game for a 10-year-old. You need Fruit Ninja and iterations on Fruit Ninja, right? Like that's what those type of.
I mean, I do have to say,
people are going to play.
You don't need the best graphics for an immersive VR experience. So I mean, you could still make a fully functional, awesome kind of Alex style game on a Quest 2. I mean, granted, it's not going to be as pretty, but if you do it, it's not going to look like this. But
yeah.
It could still be just as fun and just as meaningful and just as good. I mean, Alex, the reason Alex rocked was not necessarily because it looked so good. That's a part of it, but it was also like the most immersive game. There were giant, sprawling, unique levels. There were awesome boss fights. The combat was fun. Like all this stuff that you just don't see in other games, to put it bluntly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would be nice to see more of that. Especially, I mean, I hate saying it because I don't like Meta at all or anything associated with it, but I wish they would put more resources in. Like if any company has enough money to really sell that, and it's totally in their interest to do so, like for them to make really, really good VR games would only benefit them. And I don't think we've seen too much come from them.
Yeah.
Although I think they have bought some VR studios, but yeah.
Yeah. But again, they're not selling the AAA game, right? They're selling the Fruit Ninjas or whatever else is out there. Dan, you played a lot of the PSVR 2 titles, right? What was your favorite of the ones you played?
I played 3.
Okay. So
I played this one called
about 30.
Yeah, I played this one, and then I played one called Townsman, where you're like, it's a city builder, but you use your hands to like pick people up, and it kind of reminded me of Black and White back in the day, where you play as a god. You can pick people up, throw them, or just put them on the lumber yard, and then they do the lumber yard. But it was just very slow, and I've kept feeling like after I slapped the tutorial guy a few times and threw some villagers around, like I kind of was over it. It was a very like mediocre city builder thing, and it was just okay.
Remember the game ActRaiser? We need an ActRaiser.
Oh hell yeah,
remake. Because it had that kind of city builder thing, and then it had like the platform level. They were both
platform action stuff.
Yeah.
You're talking about the SNES game?
Yeah, Super Nintendo game.
I thought that was just like a side scroller that had.
No, it was. It was like 2 games in one. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, apparently they did remake that. It did get a remake.
Oh, who cares? Fuck that game, man.
Yeah. Okay.
Is the remake any good?
I don't know. I didn't even know it was.
Oh, they remade it last year?
Yeah, there's an HD remake of it.
I'll look into it.
I'm trying to see if chat's say okay. They're saying it's it's all right.
Oh,
it's on the PC as well. There you go. You missed it.
I always thought an idea for a VR game was have 3 people playing a game normally, and then or 4 people, and then you have one person in VR mode, like being the DM, preparing the next room and preparing traps, and try to like be the game, like by trying to stop them from winning, and you're trying to win, like it's kind of like 4 versus 1.
Yeah,
I think that would be fun.
I think there's a lot of applications for it. There's someone in my chat it said that a decent amount of the Quest headsets are being used in architecture and construction. We use them in our office because they're wireless and less bulky / less intimidating to the client. So I guess they like design the building or whatever they're, going to construct and then put them in the VR world so they can walk around in it. It's kind of a cool application for that that I had not considered. Might be why, 20 million of those have been sold, because there's things outside of the world of gaming for that.
Wait, what?
What do you mean?
You're seeing
What?
You're seeing outside of the world of gaming?
Oh, yes. Sometimes. There is.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Okay. Yeah, I've heard of rumors about that. Let's move on with the news.
I don't really buy it.
Counter-Strike 2 is apparently real. And it's apparently coming out soon in beta form. As of this morning, Richard Lewis, who's a very reputable Counter-Strike journalist, says that thing is coming out maybe later this month, soon, whatever that means. It kind of ignited that whole world. For those that are not aware, Counter-Strike, I think, recently passed its global players on Steam at like 1.2 concurrent, 1.2 million, that is, concurrent on Steam. Wow. Like, just insane numbers. Yeah. So, yeah, I guess the naming of the thing, though, is a little bit weird because there's been like 6 Counter-Strikes at this point.
Yeah. CSGO and other ones.
Yeah. From the report, I think the reason that they're calling it Counter-Strike 2 is because it's running on Source 2. And that's where that comes from. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see how that goes. Obviously, Counter-Strike Go has a lot of things attached to it that I'm sure the community would want ported into that game so that they're not losing, X amount of dollars.
Their skins and everything else.
On all the skins.
I wonder how that economy is being affected right now. People are like, Counter-Strike 2 is coming out. Dude, I got to sell all my skins right now.
I got to sell everything.
Probably.
Off. Yeah.
There's people that like live off that stuff. There's probably something crazy going on in that market right now.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. It's weird that game like just passed its highest concurrent peak. And this is when they've like announced that. There's so many things outside of just the game, though. You're right, Sequisha. It's like the skin stuff is massive. Like that's a huge world that, Twitch had its, I guess, bout with once upon a time with, CSGO gambling and skins and all that stuff on the platform. And yeah, there's a whole bunch of drama and all that a couple of years back. That was probably a decade ago, or at least close to a decade, which is a little scary to think about. But
don't say that. It was last year. Okay,
it was last year. It was like a couple months back. Let's just always refer to it as a couple months back. Yeah. Whenever something happened.
A couple months back. That sounds so much better than 10 years.
Yes. Yeah, sure. Let's go with that. So I'm I played a decent amount of CS in the day. I'd love to see what that looks like. I think most people are wanting matchmaking updates. Apparently the matchmaking in CSGO is not great right now. And so they're expecting that's going to be one of the major pushes for all of that. But it comes at a very interesting time when like CSGO is oddly at its peak, or at a peak moment in its lifetime, that they're getting out there and announcing that. Sequisha, you play much CS in your time? FPS?
I played a pretty good bit of it. I mean, throughout time. I mean, I played the original like at a LAN place, like the original mod for Half-Life, and it was around the time I think the first Rainbow Six came out as well. Okay. And but when everyone, there's a lot of people there'll be like teenagers that are like, yeah, man, CS 1.6, like you don't know anything about the game, like I don't know. Everyone likes to talk about this 1.6 thing, but I remember when 1.6 was out, I was playing Wolfenstein Enemy Territory because that was like groundbreaking at the time. Yeah, Counter-Strike was kind of old hat at the moment, unless you're super esports Andy, around the year 2001.
Yeah. Or playing Quake 3, all of the above, is where people lived back then. I think that's another thing too. You mentioned like 1.6 and CS Source, like if they split the community, they've already been through that before. They've already split that community in half, and it was not a good time for Counter-Strike. And so is the idea to split the community again? I hope not. I hope they're not going to do that. I hope that they do sunset CS:GO in some form and just kind of move everything over so that you don't have to play both or make a decision to play one or the other, right? That would be really awful.
It could just be CS:GO on the new Source engine. I mean,
right. That's all it could be at the end of the day.
I mean, they're probably not going to deviate away from the formula. They've had it, it's been tried and true for a long time.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. Within the report, the other big thing is that this is for the esportsmen out there. Counter-Strike 2 will feature 128 tick servers, which is something that Valorant has as well. And so a lot of people have been wanting that.
So wait, about what you just said a minute ago about splitting the community, Amber Butcher in my chat just put a quote. I'm not sure where from though. Valve leaker Gabe Follower followed up to the Lewis report later on March 5th, stating that the new game will not be Counter-Strike 2 or rebranded at all. Rather, the final product will just be CS:GO running on the Source 2 engine.
So they're just going to port it over. Okay.
Sounds like they're just porting it. If Bay, just out of curiosity, where did you? Oh, Source is Dexerto, which is RL Lewis's thing there.
Got it. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So also, I think he just left actually, but still, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I think
so it does sound like they're just moving it forward, not necessarily like new product kind of stuff.
It's kind of like what they did with Dota 2, to be honest, back in the day. So I think that's the way to do it. Maybe
Source, trust me, bro. Yes.
Maybe not the most exciting news, I guess, for people that are like wanting a brand new big game, but I think it's still a cool deal. Like what Overwatch went into Overwatch 2. Kind of different. I don't know. Overwatch to Overwatch 2 was Blizzard selling you a new game.
It's kind of a unique beast in terms of what they did.
Yeah.
It went well though.
When are we supposed to just quick side thing? When are we supposed to see
the PvE?
Yeah.
I don't know. I cannot tell you. I don't know if we've heard or they've said anything about that. I feel like they're just trying to fix like Overwatch 2 right now. Like the game was in such a bad state, balance wise, that they're just kind of addressing all of that.
Conception. I know, right? I'm sorry. I'm just not.
Yeah.
I've never been a fan of Overwatch.
At all? You didn't even like the early days of it?
No, I almost broke my jaw. I yawned so hard trying to get into and watch the game. I go to a chiropractor.
Oh,
I liked it in XCOM. It was fun in XCOM to Overwatch all the time.
Like the early days of Overwatch. Yeah.
Yeah.
The true Overwatch.
XCOM, sorry.
Yeah.
I messed up my own joke.
No, I got it. I was there with you. Yeah, I don't know. The whole Overwatch 2 thing is what it is. That game, they just announced some, they're trying to Fortnite it. They're doing some anime crossovers at the moment. I think Saitama and someone else from One Punch Man is a skin in the game. So, yeah, sure.
Team Fortress 2 also got like some type of update, an official update from Valve recently. I don't know if it was like for bug fixes or something. I heard something about that within the last like couple weeks or the last month, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe you already covered it.
I don't know. Maybe I thought Team Fortress 2. The joke around Team Fortress 2 is that they never got any updates for hats. Like they never got any. Valve just like forgot that game existed.
I don't know. Maybe that's what it was.
Maybe I'm just old, but what if we just make the game really good, and then like once it's good, then we do like collabs and stuff?
What are you talking? No, we got to monetize
the game first.
We got to
get it to be good.
No,
and then you get the kids with the.
Dan, how can you make money if the game is just good?
I know. Well, or you could like pay lock some features. Like maybe the volume slider is like a monthly fee or something.
Yeah,
there's ways to monetize it. That would be good.
Now you're
like
talking.
Basic features sold back to you. I mean, that was like a pay to win like gold mine there.
Yeah.
Like a cursor, like unlock the cursor is like the first step of like the battle pass.
Now,
yeah,
you say that as a joke, but I'm pretty sure, Sequisha, you bought a cursor in Path of Exile, did you not?
Oh no, I just upscaled. I changed it to magenta.
I was watching. I saw you had a green cursor in PoE. I guess that's not one of the MTX cursors.
It's a newer thing, so I just needed a little bit of contrast because I'm getting old, you know.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, you can buy cursors now in PoE for anyone curious. They will sell those to you for I don't know how much they cost, but yeah, that's a
I'm
thing.
still waiting for main menu themes. There's gonna be like you could buy a theme for your main menu to make it look fancy. $100.
Oh God. Well, don't put $100 price tag on it, but they probably would.
I mean,
to be
with
honest.
PoE prices, that's probably what it would be.
That's par for the course with PoE prices. You're not wrong about that. Yeah. What else is out there in the world of news? The NFT president at Square Enix is apparently the president of Square Enix currently loves NFTs. He's been trying to push NFTs and that whole thing.
No way.
Pending approval at the next annual shareholders meeting, he will no longer be president at Square Enix. However, the person that is succeeding him, don't celebrate, worked at a metaverse company before Square Enix. So you're kind of trading one for another here. It's just not great.
I don't know. Like all of that stuff, it's just like overcomplications of I don't know. I mean, I know there's some people that are like really into all that kind of thing. I just don't get it. Like like none of that stuff matters if the fucking game isn't
It's
good.
good.
The game sucks. None of the other stuff matters at all.
Yeah.
Me.
No,
I'm
you're
sure
not
a lot
wrong.
of people share that sentiment, you know?
It is like it is an ancillary thing. I think
Mhm.
I think when you get to that level, right, it's not about like shipping a game. It's shipping the stuff around the game that will actually make money. If that makes sense. Because like Dan was just saying, like, oh, the $100 main menu thing. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to like make money off their IP without actually creating anything of value. They're just like, buy this digital image. Well, what am I going to do with it? I don't know.
Mhm.
You could. It's got some value to it if you want it.
Yeah. Blockchain. You're like, oh yeah.
Blockchain, Web3, all the buzzwords.
What if I just said all these words alongside of this thing that you can buy? Oh, okay. Maybe I will check that out. Yeah, maybe we'll
It's
buy
the
that.
ultimate businessman fantasy. You sell nothing for money. You take this thing that is literally nothing and you get money for it. It's like 100% profit.
Yeah.
Just you give them nothing and they just give you lots of money.
Yeah. Well, now the thing too is they don't even refer to them as NFTs anymore. Now they're digital images because NFT is like painted, right? Like you can't
Wait,
say
what?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't say NFT anymore because it's got like such a stigma attached to it. Now it's just
So
digital
now we're back
images.
to JPEGs and GIFs, right?
I guess. Yeah. It's a weird thing.
There's a game for new stuff. The finals, I think beta is going to be in a couple days.
Yeah, so are you
It's
hype on
in-
that? Because I have people that drop on my chat, drop trailers, and they're very excited for it. I don't
Right.
get the hype around it. Can you
okay.
explain that at all? I'll pull up a
The
video
tr-
so people can see it.
Right. The trailer looks like there's a lot of tech. Like it looks cool. If it plays anything like, it might be kind of cool. I think just to have like a PvP experience, with something kind of battle royale-ish. I like the fact that it's kind of got a little bit of a like a game show type of Running Man type of like kind of vibe to it. Like there was a game SOS that had a very almost looked like a episode of Survivor. It was kind of like a game show.
Yeah.
I think those elements are kind of cool. I don't know. It looks like the game's got a lot of like interesting for a first person shooter kind of cool look to it. It might run like crap. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, that's the one thing I'm curious about is performance because the levels of
Right.
destruction are pretty high.
Yeah, there's
As
a
you
lot
can
of stuff
see in
going
this
on.
trailer, and there's a lot of like just visual clutter happening. And so for an FPS to be, the goal of this and being played, there's a lot of shit happening.
I mean,
to keep track of.
yeah, right. Anytime there's a new game like this, I like to play them at the very beginning when like nobody knows what's going on, the meta hasn't been established yet, and there can be some really funny moments with you, blasting and killing somebody.
Yeah.
And, it's somebody like, I don't know, getting launched off into the sunset from a, some type of destruction element or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there
I'm
might
really
be some
sorry
fun
about that,
stuff.
guys.
No, you're good.
That's
You're good.
fine.
We're talking the finals. So that was a closed beta back in September. what are they going to launch soon, or is it going to be open beta? Do you know anything about that, Sequisha?
I think it's going to be an open beta. I'm not entirely sure though. I just thought I'd mention it because it is right around the corner.
This trailer says join the beta on Steam. This was February 23rd. Closed beta trailer is what this is. So looks like it is going to be closed. I don't know if you're going to be able to stream it, but
Which game is this?
The Finals. It's a new FPS coming out that people are excited about. A lot of destruction, but also just has some cool like flair to it. Looks a little bit different than kind of the standard, FPS affair that we're getting.
I have not actually heard of that.
It's definitely got hype around it. People are excited. I get asked to watch new trailers for this pretty frequently.
Yeah, I mean, it could go either way. It could, be really interesting and fun and kind of exciting because there's a lot of new stuff going on, or it could just be, just trash. Like,
yeah,
I don't know, we'll see. Go either way, really.
Destructible environments are really hard to nail because they make fights just chaotic. Because you never know what's going to happen. Someone could blow through the wall. You could be standing on something that blows up. It's just really hard to balance PvP stuff around that kind of chaos.
Yeah,
they can make it fun where it doesn't feel super punishing if it happens, and it could be really, really good.
Chat is saying beta starts March 7th and goes for 2 weeks. And another reason why people are so excited about the finals is that it has a bunch of ex-Battlefield developers involved in the game. So, yeah, it's also the same devs that are making Arc Raiders. I think I remember that trailer at a Summer Game Fest or a Game Awards or something.
That's the one that had the Dancing on My Own soundtrack, right?
Sure.
I remember because it was just so weird compared to what I was the gameplay. I really disliked it, and it stuck with me. I was like, "This is terrible."
Chad is saying you are correct. So
yeah. Song's fine, and the game was fine. They just didn't feel like they went together.
Didn't
It
mix.
was just really weird.
Didn't mix. The Deep Rock Galactic team has announced a new game, at least teased a new game called Deep Rock Galactic Survivor. And it is basically a vampire survivor style game set in the world of Deep Rock Galactic. They put out a little 30-second trailer here we could show. But people seem to be pretty excited about this. Yeah. That game does and continues to do very well. I think people also have a lot of respect for those devs just because of how they've treated the DRG community over the years. Here's a little bit of the teaser that they put out. So it is basically a vampire survivor game. You're choosing different settings and upgrades and all that type of stuff. Could be fun.
Of all the new genres of the past couple years, this has been one of my favorites, the survivors genre, where this going around auto firing or manually firing a little bit. It's something about it just so addicting and so fun to just play for hours and repeating a level again and again and again.
Yeah. It's simple.
Because there's a lot of constant progress. You're like, boom, just level up, got okay, we need to, it's a lot of fun. It kind of reminds me of remember Smash TV? Do you ever play that on the Super Nintendo?
Yeah, that was a couple months ago. Yeah, I've played that. It's great.
Just a few months back.
It's a few months back. Yeah, just 10 years. Maybe 20 years. But yeah, you're right. It's those type of games where I think definitely lost, right? Speak to what Dan was saying. Best thing about Survivor games, you can jump in within 5 minutes, you understand what's happening. Maybe 5 seconds, you understand what's happening. And they're simple, they're easy, very very intuitive, and I'm glad that genre exists. I just hope that we start to push the genre a little bit more rather than just nonstop clone after clone after clone.
I think there is a lot of room in this genre right now for a 80s style game. Instead of the roguelite gameplay, you have a survivor style gameplay where there's meaningful progression, there's cool characters, a good story, an interesting world, there's now that we have this established, I cannot wait to see what really big devs are going to do with it.
Levels of depth to it. Right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Like actual paths you can take your characters down to choose what drops and weapons you get in the different levels and, very cool boss fights and things of that nature. Yeah. That could be awesome.
Yeah. How many big IPs do you think are going to jump on that train and be like, here's the Overwatch Survivor. Here's the CSGO Survivor game. you know,
StarCraft could make a fun one.
Here's a StarCraft Survivor game, right? Like Warframe Survivors, Path of Exile Survivor, just nonstop Survivor games.
All out Survivors.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll start to see that between now
Not
and
wrong.
whenever the next big like push forward is. I think the Vampire Survivor dev straight up said like, we're not going to ever do a Vampire Survivors 2 unless there's a meaningful like thing to do with it. Which
You
is
said they're
cool
just going to keep making DLC.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, is working for them, and that's awesome, and their fans love it. So,
yeah, and it's
power
priced
to 'em.
right? They're not gouging their fan base whatsoever. I think the game's free on mobile and like 99 cents for that DLC. It seems adequately priced, and people are paying it in droves. Very successful. Did y'all watch any of the Final Fantasy 16 stuff this past week? There's a huge media dump that came out on Tuesday. I will not show the footage because it is somewhat spoilery of stuff within the game. Game looks great though. It's seeming pretty fantastic. For anyone out there that's excited for Final Fantasy 16, I think you can continue to be excited. Most of the reviews were positive, or previews, I should say, were pretty positive of all the footage.
It's a single player RPG, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
A single player RPG, and the combat is Devil May Cry.
Sort of like Devil May Cry, really.
The person that actually
cool.
worked on the combat for Devil May Cry 5. Like he is the person that designed Devil May Cry 5's combat. So that seemed to be echoed in pretty much all the previews. They did say it was a little easy. They most of them said it was an easy game, and they were not planning for like difficulties being included within the game. So that's kind of an interesting thing.
Maybe it just means the optional side stuff will be like a huge challenge or something, kind of weapon stuff, Final Fantasy VII stuff.
Yeah. It's also a demo, right? They're not trying to make the game super hard in a demo. They want you to be able to get through it. So maybe they'll tune the numbers and make it a little bit harder during all that stuff.
They need IGN to be able to finish it so they can get a review out.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Skill Up, who's a big YouTuber, actually flew out to Japan. He got to interview Yoshi P, who's the game director, or I don't think that's his actual title, but he's working on the game. He got some interesting quotes out there that were kind of floating around Twitter regarding the idea of the JRPG being offensive and some stuff around that, which like totally understand what he's saying. I totally get that type of commentary. I don't know if we'll dive into that conversation unless you guys want to, but yeah, it was some interesting stuff coming out of those interviews that kind of sparked mostly, I think, from Skill Up. And I don't think Skill Up had that intention whatsoever.
And
Right.
for the record, just because Chad is currently saying stuff. So this is the JRPG stuff. Saying JRPG was offensive is kind of the headline.
Yeah.
There's a lot more nuance to that. He was making the point that he felt like it was a very restrictive thing, that it was a label that he didn't necessarily like or want. So this is not some big, glorified headline of, playing in today's day and age and things of that nature. I strongly suggest reading what he said.
And I can do that right now if you want.
Words. Go ahead,
Yeah.
please. Yeah, that'd be great.
For us as developers in Japan, this is all quote. For us as developers in Japan, the first time we heard it, it was like a discriminatory term, as though we were being made fun of for creating these games. And so for some developers, the term JRPG can be something that will maybe trigger bad feelings because of what it was in the past. It wasn't a compliment to a lot of developers in Japan. We understand that recently JRPG has a better connotation and that's being used as a positive, but we still remember the time when it was being used as a negative. So
I would say that's a much more contextual description of what he said. And more importantly, like that spawned just the title spawned this big thing on Twitter where they were like, oh man, we need to stop using the term. And they were like, no, he even says these days it means something good. He's just saying it didn't necessarily feel that way in the past. And he was talking about that because that's how he felt. That's totally valid. It's not like he's saying, stop saying that. Okay. So
yeah. It makes sense.
Makes sense. Absolutely.
I understand why he was saying that. Essentially, they would, play a game from a Western dev, and that was an RPG. But how come the games they weren't making were RPGs? Why were they JRPGs?
Why are you putting the J in front of it? Exactly.
Yeah,
why? So it makes sense.
Exactly
Totally makes
right.
sense.
I do recommend watching the Skill Up video if you're at all interested. Like I said, slight spoilers, I think, from like the first mission in the game. man, some of those fights, they have like straight up 15-minute like QTE fights within that game that are fucking incredible looking, and what you would kind of expect from watching a Final Fantasy 16 cutscene with QTEs in it. Game's looking really good. I hope they change the difficulty up a little bit. That was probably the biggest complaint that I saw some of the previews saying that I was mostly worried about. But apart from that, it looks great. It looks like it's going to be a really good entry into the Final Fantasy lexicon. He also said something along the lines that like Final Fantasy is not necessarily as big as a game as it once was, and that like 15 kind of helped hurt the IP a little bit. I think 13 did as well, at least here in the West when they did like 13.2 and 13.3. Like I kind of agreed with them.
They diluted it.
Yeah,
they diluted it. Like I think I completely agree with that statement. I mean, it got kind of, by the time you've made, the third 10 and stuff like that, it's just like, guys, you're just, it feels like they're almost farming the IP at that point a little bit.
Mhm.
We're almost out of numbers here.
I know, dude, I know, right? Like it got to, and here's the worst part. It's like, not only did they make, like the 3 extra 10s, but the second and third, like, sure, some people liked them, but the general majority was that like, these aren't great games.
Yeah.
So it's like, they've got this double effect of like, you're diluting the IP. You're not diluting it with good things that people like. So of course that's going to make everyone kind of be like, oh, good. And another Final Fantasy game when the next one comes out. So it's, they kind of shot themselves in the foot with that stuff.
I don't know if I'm old, but
13 too,
as they move further away from turn-based combat and more heavy RPG mechanics, it kind of doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel like Final Fantasy anymore to me. I miss my like turn-based combat. Like even in 13 had turn-based, and I had that like epic like violin music playing as you're doing your turns. Like I miss that feeling of the old turn-based games. Like 7 is a good compromise, but I still feel like I do wish it was turn-based still. I wish they'd add a turn-based mode or something in the future to like appeal to the older gamer that like the older series.
Yeah. He talked about that, and I think he essentially said, this won't be the exact quote, but he was basically saying that like gamers today don't want that on a mainstream scale. They want the more action-oriented things, and that's where kind of gaming has gone. So that's why 16 is like where
that's
it's going.
So weird to hear, because I mean, you have like that Japanese dev saying that, right? And then you have Ryuga Gotoku, who is literally taking
Doing the
most
opposite,
iconic action games that Japan has and transitioning it to a fully turn-based system for their following iterations. And it's just like,
yeah,
I know that's like your opinion, man, but but maybe that's like not super accurate.
I'm a gamers.
Yeah. It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird. And it's also kind of weird to hear them make that argument and then in the same breath be like, yeah, and for some reason Final Fantasy doesn't mean as much as it used to. It's like, huh, you don't say, really.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting
Yeah.
how that works.
Yeah. I think with turn-based RPGs, like it's kind of one of those things. Like remember when I know I'm doing
a couple months ago,
some callbacks, right? Okay, when the N64 came out, they were like, we have the tech, so now it's all a third-person action adventure. I mean, from Bomberman to like Castlevania, what they did to Castlevania, Super Mario, like they were all like. I feel like that's part of the same thing with like some of these RPGs are like, hey, we have the tech. It's hard to like really push and emphasize all these cool things we can do with animation and all this visual stuff when like it's turn-based and everyone's just sitting there, like, I don't know. So I feel like they want to take advantage of like, all this visual stuff. And it's hard to do for a turn-based game. It's difficult to do that. And I think that's part of what probably what part of the problem is. Sure. I love turn-based games. Like Final Fantasy Tactics was one of my favorite Final Fantasies of all time.
Oh, hell yeah.
And actually, I kind of experienced a little bit of that with War Tales recently. War Tales was really cool.
Yeah.
Really, really fun game.
Yeah.
But, I think that's part of the thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think Square also, Octopath Traveler 2 just came out. I feel like that's kind of like what for people that want turn-based, that's their answer. And they're going to take 16 and morph it into, quote unquote, what the gamers want when it comes to action these days. And I don't know if that was if his quote or his reference point was like purely just sales data, which might have been the case. But saying the idea of like, yeah, gamers don't necessarily want this it's a weird thing.
It's also, I mean, you have like Baldur's Gate 3, hugely hyped, fully turn-based. Warhammer 40K, Rogue Trader with Owlcat. Somebody just said in chat, great example. Darkest Dungeon 2, huge amount of hype behind that. Turn-based is very much still here. And I think there's a huge audience that still fundamentally appreciates it. So it is strange. That feels like one of those opinions where it's like they're kind of in their bubble and kind of trying to find reasons on why things in their bubble are reacting the way they are. So they're kind of like reaching a bit.
Right. Like I want to know who he's referring to. Like
gamers
kind of, referring to,
Yeah, exactly. It's a little strange.
Yeah. Someone drunken.
Yeah, Dragon's Quest is I mean huge in Japan turn-based game.
Drunken CPT in my chat says, yeah, you should listen to the video since he directly talks about it. He feels that Final Fantasy has stopped evolving and should not evolve in players' minds, but he wants to bring it forwards, which I understand. Final Fantasy has always innovated. I kind of get that as well. Like Final Fantasy for a while there wasn't like innovating the game. They were just kind of copying a lot of what everyone else was doing. And so maybe this iteration of action is them trying to push that genre forward a little bit, and also Final Fantasy forward a little bit. We'll see. That comes out this summer. So,
and as somebody, I said up here in my chat just brought up the good point. It is true that I would, and I would agree with this, even as somebody who is almost preferential to turn-based. I would say the general majority of gamers in like the global scene probably find turn-based a little slow. Compared to what like most games are. Maybe that's the angle he's taking, where they're wanting to make Final Fantasy more mainstream, not necessarily like take it out of its more niche setting, and they just kind of want to globalize it a bit more.
Probably.
But,
they want to sell more copies.
It's all money. They want to sell more copies.
Didn't want to like boil it down to the money aspect. But I mean, you're not wrong. That could be exactly what we want this to sell more. We want this to be more generally accessible. We want to become the next Bethesda, and just dumb it down for the masses. And
it does look like a very expensive game. Those like hardcore graphics and cutscenes on it. So that's big money.
Yeah. Game looks really. I didn't want to show any footage because of spoiler purposes, but if you're at all curious, go just watch 30 seconds or a minute of it. It looks fantastic. I think there's just raw footage out there from like Gamatsu. I think they have 45 minutes of raw footage.
And didn't they announce there's like 11 hours of cutscenes?
Yeah, they said it's about a 34, 35-ish hour game, and 11 of those hours are straight up cutscenes. So
that's just impressive.
Yeah.
Are they, you're saying like interactable like cutscene stuff?
I don't know if they were interactable. I think that's just straight up storytelling cutscenes.
I think it was straight up story cutscenes. Like get some popcorn.
Because that would be annoying if you're watching you're watching 5 minutes of this thing, and then you got a controller down, you're having a drink, and then it's like you got to tap X or it's game over. You're like, oh, you're not with that thing.
Yeah, I hate when they do that too. Yeah, I hope
you are
just
dead.
Straight up cutscenes. Yeah,
it happened in a game recently. Oh, it was Dead Space remake, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, where there's just randomly cut like QTEs in the middle of cutscenes.
Yeah. Huh. Like I thought I was watching something.
The other big quote, this is for all the Final Fantasy 14 fans out there. Someone says, after the release of Final Fantasy 16, is there a chance to start a joint promotion with Final Fantasy 14? And his response was, quote, about this, first of all, as the producer of Final Fantasy 16, I would like to cooperate with Final Fantasy 14. After all, Final Fantasy 14 has a huge player base, and it would be ideal to bring Final Fantasy 16 to the Final Fantasy 14 crowd.
More money!
But this is not something that I can decide alone. I need to discuss it with the producer of Final Fantasy 14, and it just so happens that the producer and supervisor of Final Fantasy 14 is also named Yoshida. I will ask his opinion, and if he says that it is possible, then it is okay to cooperate. By the way, Final Fantasy 14 is helmed by Yoshi P, the same person. So that was a really weird quote to give. But hey.
He puts on a different hat when he's in a different...
I know. He's like, hold on a second. Let me just put on... I think that's a great idea you just had.
Yeah. It sounds like some standard Yoshi P trolling. This is the guy that in the middle of a letter from the producer live for Final Fantasy 14 spent 30 minutes talking about teleportation cost going up in the game and how sorry he was to the community. So, yeah, he's an interesting dude. He seems to really care, I guess, if you can take anything from that. What else? Destiny 2 Lightfall came out, and the Destiny community's upset. Surprise! The story
Well,
sucks in that game, and that's why they're
Yeah,
upset.
I was going to say, the people that are playing it for the story seem to be very disappointed.
Yes.
They felt like the exposition's not very good. However, there's a lot of people that are very happy with like a lot of the mechanics that were introduced. Apparently, the strand system is doing very well. So
Yep.
I mean, it's like I don't know if it still is, but it was mostly negative on Steam.
Let's
Like
take a look.
it was very, very bad. And
Yeah.
somebody posted a screenshot of that, and I was like, holy shit. Like, let me see what this is. So I went to the Steam thing, and sure enough, almost every downvote was either talking about the value because of how much they got for the main story stuff, or about the main story stuff. There were some up stuff, mainly focusing on the new mechanics and how much they enjoyed them. But it seems like the people that are playing it because they were hoping it would be like this super cool story edition were very let down, unfortunately.
Yeah. So right now on Steam, Destiny
Was that
2.
your post, Sequisha? Oh, I think that was your post, wasn't it?
Yeah, it is a good job.
Right now, it's currently mostly positive on just Destiny 2 as a whole, but I think the negative reviews were on Destiny 2 Lightfall, and I'm
It's
not.
the
Yes.
DLC, right?
Yeah,
it's
I'm
the
not sure
DLC.
how to get to that.
If you go to the main page, I think the DLC stuff's in the bottom. Or you can just
Yeah,
maybe
from the
search
store
for
page.
Lightfall. Yeah.
Store page just looked Lightfall, yeah.
Okay. I think I found it. Yes, mostly negative. Recent and all 3,900 reviews. So, yeah, I spent about 45, 50 hours with it. I think 7 of those were on stream because the story was very quick. Story was not great. It was not a good follow-up to what was arguably their best story with the Witch Queen last year. It is essentially, I don't know this for anything other than just what I'm seeing. The cutscene that opens the story and the cutscene that ends the story are practically the same exact cutscene cut in half. So like you get the opening of the game, you go do something completely different, and then you come back to the end of the game and that cutscene kind of finishes and you get to see the culmination of that cutscene. And it's really weird. All the while you're like chasing a side thing that has some ramifications of the overall story, but the whole marketing thing leading up to like the Traveler and the Witness and this big confrontation, you see maybe 30 seconds of that in a cutscene, and then that's all you get. And so that's why people are upset.
I have to admit, as somebody who saw that plastered all over Twitter and TikTok, that whole like the Witness, standing in front of the Traveler and the giant beam, and then he like does a little hand thing, and like
that's the opening cutscene.
That's one of the things that made me be like, man, this actually looks badass. Like
Totally.
this looks pretty freaking cool. Like I wish I understood who the hell any of these people were, because it's it'd be fun, but that's definitely unfortunate. It's definitely unfortunate.
And the end of that cutscene is not even. There's so many questions that are just not answered, and they just raise so many other questions. Like the big thing is this idea of the veil, right? And it's like, oh, the veil, the MacGuffin. It's the veil. It's so important. We know all about the veil. No one fucking says what the veil is throughout the entire thing, and you finish the campaign. What's the veil? I don't know. I don't know what it is. They don't explain any of it. They don't do any of the explanation. And it's just like, I guess it's like a power source to where you get Strand, which is the new the new power set for Destiny, which gameplay wise, it's fun. It's super, it's a fantastic addition to the game. It completely makes the game much more faster and it's very strong. And like all the gameplay elements of the game are great. The story is just not a good time. It's not fantastic. The raid launches this next weekend, so we'll see how that is. Hopefully it's good.
Does the raid ever contain story stuff? Like
it's like story
explain
adjacent.
Any of this?
Yeah, they won't do like full explanations, but it's story adjacent stuff. I think there's leaks for it out right now. I don't know them or know what it's about, but I think it's probably going to have some sort of story implementation. In the past they have. So I'm excited for it. I hope it's good. I'll probably be jumping in on raid day, but yeah, story's not great. If you're wanting to jump into Destiny,
Which I won't be.
Yeah, it's not a good time for it. Did you play Destiny at all, Sequisha, or are you just staying away from the game completely?
I'm just probably just like no comment.
You're just super negative
not
on
a
it?
Destiny guy.
Totally. Look,
Really
I
not.
get it. I think it's a pretty divisive game. I definitely think you're
for
not
sure.
alone in that.
For good reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
They did, like Coach said, they did cross over their all-time high on Steam this past week when the game launched. I think at like 320,000 or 312,000.
Is it Steam only? Because it's also
no, so it's on all
console
platforms.
Too?
Yeah, and
Right.
I think although they've never said straight up numbers, I want to say the PlayStation community is the largest community, and it's like 3 to 4 times the size of Steam. So it was probably a pretty successful launch. All-time high is 316,750 players on Steam. That was 5 days ago. Right now, there's 216,000 players in. 24-hour peak is 226. So people are still playing it. There's still stuff to do. Yeah, it's got crossplay as well. So they've got that going for it.
I've never really liked it very much personally, but the fans of it are hardcore. They are hardcore fans of the game.
Yeah.
Like they intensely talk to you about the game if you ever talk to them about it. They are avid fans, and they will tell you anything you want to know because they love it. And the things they don't like, they will tell you passionately about how they don't like them.
Yeah.
Very interesting, tight-knit community.
At the same time, they will also shit on it when it does bad, like which is what is currently happening right now. Like they're very vocal fans in that regard, 100%. I'm forgetting the name, but someone from your community, when I took September off this past year, I jumped into Destiny and played like 100 hours that month. And he was kind of like the Sherpa through all of the stuff. And Dan talking about like how hardcore they are. He has literally every single thing unlocked in that game that you can unlock. And I mean literally every single thing that you can do in that game, he had it. So I don't know how many hours that is, but that's like easy 10,000 hours in that game.
Like, there's other games like out there, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, Laszlo, there he is. He's in my chat right now. Yeah, just he's at 6,000 hours plus right now in the game. Just like wild amount. Anything I would bring up, I'd be like, I wonder how that works, or I wonder what this is. I wonder what that does. Had the answer within seconds. And it was great to have that resource. But yeah, that's Destiny 2.
Someone in chat is saying that's kind of like Warframe addicts.
Yes, same thing. Same exact thing. Yeah. How do you feel on Warframe, Sequisha? Where you sit on Warframe? Because that's like a big point of contention. I think Destiny 2 versus Warframe, or Destiny 2 and Warframe are kind of the same.
Well, Warframe's free to play too, right? And it's mostly like cosmetic. Well, actually, there is some pay to win stuff, right? But I think a lot of it's supposed to be cosmetic in your ships.
Yeah.
Right.
Pay to speed up.
Yeah.
I don't know. You get into a weird conversation about it.
You do. Right. The general consensus is that when you can just buy pretty much everything in the game, it's arguably pay to win.
Yeah.
I used to call it. I used to call it pay to progress, and I had some very real long discussions into the night with members of the community, and finally became to the conclusion that pay to progress is under the umbrella of pay to win. But it's not like a side-by-side thing.
Yeah.
Like there's pay to win, and then pay to progress is a subsect, not a parallel sect.
Yeah.
So yeah. It's still, there's people that will argue either into the ground and throw a stone any direction and hit either one of them. So,
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, when it comes to games like that, like I like games where I can potentially lose everything, because it kind of gives me that adrenaline, I don't know. I think it's more exciting for people to see.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I get that. You want to talk Tarkov and what that community's been going through? Okay. Are you tired of that? Has that been a major point of contention in the past?
There's just a So like when there's a new
should we hold on?
Should
we just wiggle at each other and move forward? Is that what we
right? Well, here's the thing: when there's a new wipe and everything's fresh, everybody's busy playing the game, so like they're having fun. But like as soon as the game gets, that wears off and they're bored in the game, they start doing scab runs on Twitter, and it becomes, the new cheater video. It's like, dude, these cheaters have been here like the whole time. Like the cheating is worse than it's ever been in that game.
Yeah.
And that's
but
why
I heard they just banned 4,000 people, Sequisha. It's fine now.
Right. It's a whole thing.
It's a
and-
massive,
and
yeah.
there's some people that are pretty toxic about it. There's a lot of people that are climbing on top of each other and using each other as examples to like progress themselves. And like it's just
It's
I
a
just wanna
mess.
step away from it until the next wipe, and then have some fun playing the game.
Yeah, it's been an absolute mess ever since. There was, I guess, to catch people up if you hadn't heard. There's a video out there where essentially someone downloaded a bunch of cheats, which are very easy to get, just like they are, unfortunately, in most multiplayer games these days. Which I think is a very important caveat to kind of this whole thing, because it exists and the video is responding to Tarkov, but like this kind of happens. You can get cheats for Rocket League, right? Like cheats are everywhere, unfortunately, in multiplayer games these days. So the video came out and he downloaded hacks, got them in like 5 minutes, and he basically played with them and recorded himself playing with them. And he would walk around and he found out that the way to know that other people also have the same cheats is to look at another player through a wall, through a building or whatever, and wiggle. And wiggling means just going like this, like Q&E, and leaning back and forth. And something like 60% of the player base that he did this to, according to his stats, would wiggle back to him without ever seeing him, except through the wall. And so
they were seeing him with their
they were seeing him with their own hacks.
That was the intention.
Yeah.
The ESP skeleton, right?
Yeah.
Through the walls,
And so the video shows that, and like it sparked a giant amount of discussion last weekend. It was this weird thing where like video came out, all the creators got very upset about the video existing, and then the community got upset at those creators for being upset about the video existing in the first place. And now all the creators are like, well, maybe this is actually a good thing that we're talking about how much cheating there is. And so now it's okay to talk about, I don't know. It's a weird thing.
The thing that has been slightly uncomfortable to watch is it's a lot of creators just doing their absolute best to ride the public opinion.
Yes.
Right.
And seeing these people like do their absolute best and just flow like water back and forth between the opinions. It's just kind of like, it's been. I'm glad I'm not playing Tarkov right now. It's not a and a lot but the equivocal everyone can agree on is that the community sucks right now.
It's in a bad spot. Yeah.
Every single person, regardless of their side, is in full agreement that the community sucks right now, and that the devs aren't doing enough, and that it's way bigger of a problem than they think. And that spawns all these side conversations. You think the devs are hiding it so they sell more copies? Is this intentional? Like, like the conspiracies. And it's such a mess. It's such a mess. I haven't even dived into it. Like there's so much more under the surface.
That's all I've seen is just the Twitter conversations back and forth, kind of like what Sequisha was referencing there. No one's actually like, all of this taking place outside of the game has nothing to do with like the actual, playing of the game. It's just like, this is where the state of the community is at the moment.
Yeah, like the game's good, the players suck.
Yeah.
In fact, the game
the
game actually didn't recently get like a YouTube video came out and the community kind of rallied behind it about changes that were wanted in the game, and then like a week later the devs were like, okay, and like put in a bunch of the changes that people have been asking for a long time. I mean, the game itself is actually, outside of the cheaters, is in a pretty decent place.
Yeah, it's
as Tarkov is always, with the bugs and the sound and all the general Tarkov tomfoolery.
Right. I think to like extract what I took from that whole conversation is like, multiplayer gaming kind of sucks in a lot of ways these days, because there's just so much cheating. Like it's so easy
really is. It's
to
crazy.
get like aim hacks, wall hacks. It's just such an easy thing these days. And I mentioned like you can go and very easily get cheats for playing Rocket League. So they exist for every fucking form of game that you can practically think of that has a multiplayer component to it. And it is.
There's people cheating in Roblox, for crying out loud. Like, these are children. Yeah. You're making kids cry. Like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah. So someone that plays a lot of like multiplayer games, it's sad. I guess.
This just goes back to the thing, the base, which I think is a valid argument. It's like the easier the cheats get, the easier the cheats are to get, the more important it is for the devs to figure out how to lock that shit down in any way they can.
Right.
Because like it,
Yeah.
it is getting to the point where all you have to do is basically think about it, Google it, and the first or second sponsored link on Google will be to a valid cheat that will work for what they want to do.
Well, and it's
So it's
a
like-
business now. Like they
exactly.
don't you don't just download these cheats. You join a Discord and they give you a link to go pay for something, and then they give you the actual, like, it's a proper, there's money involved. It's not just downloading an executable from some weird shady fucking website anymore.
Right.
Um,
And it begs the question too, like some of these anti-cheat joints like BattleEye or whatever else makes you wonder, what are they doing at that office? And like, are there different tiers of like, okay, well, if you get the basic package, we'll ban like
the cheats?
5 guys every day.
Oh, you mean at the companies?
Oh, or the anti-cheat, yeah.
Yeah.
And it makes, it's like, well, are they also moonlighting at night making the actual cheats because it generates more revenue? Like, I don't know. But it is a mess.
Yeah, it's a mess.
I'm curious, do any of you guys have any knowledge of like how much power do devs have to actually combat some of these cheat programs?
Well,
Like
it's
how
game of cat and
defensible
mouse.
are they?
It's
constantly
always
Yeah.
back and
Constantly
forth.
evolving.
That's exactly right.
It's constantly evolving, which is one of the reasons it's we say, oh yeah, devs just have people stop cheating, 5-head, easy, right? It is something that constantly needs to be changed, addressed,
Yeah.
updated.
I mean,
And the second that they fix one cheat, it's just going to spawn more.
that's right. Bungie's been pretty public about suing and winning in a lot of the cases. These cheat creators. I think they just had one this past week where it was like a $7 million fine or $6.5 million fine to one of these like cheat creators for Destiny. So it like there are forms of combating it. I think the other thing too is you look at and this is where I got to be careful because I don't necessarily know the statistics, but I think the best way to combat a lot of this stuff is to have what people like Valorant or things like Valorant has, where it's a root, right? Like the anti-cheat runs at the kernel level of a PC. And a lot of people don't want that on their PC for good reason, right? Because if if Riot ever wants to execute code at the kernel level, they've got it. They can do that. And so they're fearful.
God
of that.
forbid someone gets access to that's not them.
Totally, yeah.
Like
yeah.
someone finds a way to break
Leaks
into
have happened.
that door. They're
Yes.
making a door that someone could exploit, be it them or someone else. Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
Mhm.
And so I think that is like one of the most effective ways to combat it. But then it's like, well, do I want to give 10
BattleEye is
cent?
also kernel based.
Yeah. Do I want to give 10 cent, kernel level access to my PC? What if a leak happens? Leaks happen all the time. Exactly what Ko was just saying. And exactly what Sequisha said. It's a cat and mouse game, right? Like you update one thing, they update it. Then you update it again. Then they update it. Then you push a big update. Oh, they fixed something. They changed something. They're doing it a different way. So it's just, I don't know if there's ever a solution to it, right?
It's probably going to have to get to a point where there's like, legal stuff, kind of like in South Korea where, cheat developers, or I think even people cheating can get like jail time.
Really?
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
Bungie
there's-
is leading the way with the suing. And
Yeah.
they're actually,
Well,
which is great. But
Well,
Not
Epic
quite
did
what
that
you're
for Fortnite years ago, for some cheat developers or something like that.
Oh,
But
were
yeah. Hopefully it's more popular, that kind of thing, to scare people from making the cheats to begin with.
Yeah.
I know in
it-
for Lost Ark in Korea, the cheating was so bad that they had to have people make an account with their equivalent of like a social security number, like linked to your account, so like to prove that you're a real person, because the bots
Right.
were they just could not
Wow.
keep up with them.
Yeah.
So everyone that's on Lost Ark in Korea is like signed in through their official government documentation. So that way it cuts down the bots.
Yeah. I think
we heard you like Destiny. Well, we'd love your social security number.
I think
Yeah.
at least
Like
in
that
regards to the South Korea ID thing that they have, I'm fairly certain, not that I've ever done this a couple months ago, that you can kind of get around that somewhat easily. So just to get
Of course you can.
get into some betas once upon a time of things back in the day that required a South Korean identity or something like that. Yeah.
JP is now banned in Korea.
I'm out. I'm no longer can no longer visit the incredible country of South Korea. I'm done. I think that's it for news. Anything else you guys saw this past week? I'm just kind of scrolling through this. We could talk game releases because I know we've been playing them. Let's do some Wolong conversation.
Yeah, sure.
So the big thing about Wolong, I think, was performance, at least on PC, is where people were complaining, right? It's another Koei Tecmo launch.
Issues.
Yeah, with some performance issues.
Mouse and keyboard, absolutely abysmal. Crashing issues, graphic issues, performance issues. It is not a solid PC product.
This is what Wolong? That's that new PlayStation 3 title, right?
It came out last month. Yeah.
Yeah, this is it right here. The PlayStation 3 graphics right here. Wolong. No, you're playing the Steam version, right, Ko?
Hmm?
So are you experiencing any stuff? Because I played the Windows Store version and mine was fine, but we're on like nice rigs,
On PC,
top of the line rigs, so it's hard to say.
my performance was not super bad. In fact, my performance was pretty consistent and it was pretty good the whole time. However, especially as I got to the second half of the game, I was crashing about once an hour, sometimes back to back.
Wow.
I constantly in the game would experience this random flickering where both the character and the entire screen would just flash white. Never could get a way to get that to stop. There were some rare times in a boss fight where button prompts weren't working properly. And then I did have one boss fight that I think there was a performance issue because it was actually slowing down. It was like the fight would go like normal speed, and then all of a sudden it would slow down when the enemy would do this
like
certain
bullet
move.
time.
Like literally like underwater. Like my character would feel like it was going underwater, and that happened
Oh,
a few
wow.
other times in the level as well. I was very, very strange. And then I thought it was just like maybe an effect or something. An enemy was going on me, and chat was like, no, this is the performance issue. Like
I
this
had
is part
that
of the performance issue.
happen on the first forest
jungle.
level. Yes.
Yes, the jungle
Yeah.
level. Yep, that happened to me. That's where it happened to me too.
Yeah.
So apparently that has something to do with the performance stuff. So yeah, I mean it's the thing about Wolong is it's kind of a hybrid of Neo and Sekiro. It's fun to play. The upgrade paths are pretty fun. The weapons are pretty cool. The spells and stuff are pretty cool. The boss and enemy stuff is fun, but it basically it's the whole thing is just kind of okay. Like the story is just kind of there. The levels feel very Neo, which if you love Neo is fine, but it's not really progressing there. The last level feels exactly like the last levels of Neo. It's very strange.
Oh no. Okay.
Yeah, and like it's just a whole lot of okay. And then you put that with the tech issues and stuff, and that's where I think a lot of people feel it's a little less than okay. But the gameplay is good. The gameplay, it feels good. I love the parry timing. It's an easier game. I would rate it as one of the easiest games of this type, just because of the amount of tools they give the player and the overall difficulty. It felt just pretty easy.
Yeah.
Which is not a bad thing. I mean, it's it's not a bad thing at all.
It's approachable for sure.
It's much more approachable. I'd say it's one of the most approachable games of its type.
Yep. Yeah, we were talking about
After the first boss.
right. Yeah, funny enough, the fucking first boss is like the biggest hurdle I've had in that game. And a lot of that is because we're talking about the NPCs prior to going live. This Sun Yin person here that Ko has walking around with him, you can get up to 2 of those in a map, whatever. And they really help because they will just take, an enemy and kind of deal with them off to the side or pull aggro and they'll run after them or whatever. And you can choose to play without those NPCs and the game becomes a lot harder. But the benefit of having them is as you play with them more often, they level up. And once they get to a certain level, you can actually get their gear. And their gear is pretty good. I don't know how good. I just know that it's pretty good. Ko, can you speak to how good it is?
It's good. Absolutely. Okay. I actually got the dude that has the glaive up to max level, and I got his glaive, and I've ridden that out the entire rest of the game.
Nice.
I loved it.
Okay.
So it's
beneficial then to play with them.
Oh, absolutely, it's beneficial. I mean, a true player, like a true completionist, is going to want to max every single thing because that's where some of the best weapons are. They also a lot of times will have like unique abilities for those weapons. So
yeah.
And when you get their loot, then their loot starts dropping in the game. So it's like it's all sorts of beneficial and everything.
Yeah.
Going to the first boss, it's interesting because the first boss is actually very easy, but it expects you to beat it in a very certain way. The whole point of the first boss is that the first phase is you're learning normal parrying and just kind of staying away, and the second phase is all about learning about red dot parrying. And it's actually like, again, it's if you don't know that, which I didn't the first time I fought him a few times, and you're just running up to him like, a Dark Souls or Neo boss and trying to get as much damage in as you can, like, he's going to kick your ass. It's tough. It's really hard. But then you're like, okay, let me just slow it down, stay away from him, focus on my parrying, only do the red dot stuff in the second phase. And all of a sudden, it's like when I played it through the second time, I one-shot him. Just kind of kept on going. Because again, he's like, it's a tutorial boss. It's not an actual boss. And here's what's wild. The tutorial is so good on that boss that you beat that boss, and pretty much every boss for the rest of the game is significantly easier because you now know the secret to beating it.
Yeah.
So I do feel that they probably went a little bit overboard with it. I think that I like the idea of the first boss being this major tutorial, but I feel like they should have like really made it a tutorial and slowed those moves down, and maybe during the first move paused it and be like, this is when you're supposed to do that thing we've been telling you about, like really kind of accentuate the fact that, you have to beat this guy in a certain way if you want to be able to effectively and easily beat him. And then more importantly, be like, you learn how to do this. This is the game. Like, this is the rest of the game is learning these pretty basic mechanics that you don't necessarily know at the start, and then just repeating that out. So, but yeah, it was definitely a choice to make a 2-phase boss with 3 health pots. Well, that's kind of wild.
It almost sets, in a lot of ways, it set kind of like false expectations for the game, because I was like, wow, this is pretty fucking hard. And then exactly like you said, I didn't have any struggle after that. And the other, maybe, like, I agree with you that the game is like, all right, that's how I would view this game. I dropped out a little bit after this level, so you have a lot more experience on it. So anything that I say, I'll make sure that you can quantify that. But the biggest issue I had with the game is that the best way to do anything in this game is to wait for an attack, specifically a red attack. There's no reason to like attack a mob because you do like so little, at least I did so little damage, that I would just sit back and wait for a red parry to occur so I could actually like do damage. Does that ever change at all, Co, or is that kind of the game?
So interestingly enough, I felt very similar to the way you did, especially after that first boss fight and seeing my chip damage from like my big 4-hit combos on him.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons I went glaive, because it's one of the highest damage weapons I could find that still offered me a little bit of maneuverability. And then the rest of the game was basically figuring out how I can use spells to keep myself tanky. And all of my equipment, I sub-spec'd for more damage, more heavy acclamations, so I could use that more. Like, you're absolutely right. Now, once you get the glaive, up in levels and you're upgrading your weapons, and then at that point, you're starting to chunk enemies. So normal enemies will just fall to a few of your hits. Right. And even the larger enemies, you'll start doing significant damage. But no, I mean, a 100% valid, possibly intended way to play this game is to just bait out attacks and then get the time. Very, very, very Sekiro, where you just bait out the attacks, you wait for your opening, you learn the mob's movesets, and you parry those to get the big hits. Because the big hits, I mean, even if you have a weak weapon, your weak spec, the big hits do tons of damage. Huge amounts of damage. Amounts of damage. And in fact, that's how you beat some of the bosses. The only other boss I had trouble with is a guy named Lubu. And funny enough, the reason I had so much trouble with him was because I fell into this is a Dark Souls game, this is a Neo 2 game, of like trying to beat him and stuff. And then after dying a bunch of times, I was like, okay, hold on, let me do this guy like I did the first boss. And I just relatively easily beat him at that point. So it's very much I don't want to say it's the right way to play, but it is the easiest way to play this game, to bait out attacks and just get the red dot timing down.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned the
don't pursue him, by the way.
Don't pursue him. Okay.
Don't pursue Lubu.
Okay, don't pursue Lubu. Got it. I was laughing because Lubu's got some Dynasty Warrior. All of these characters were in Dynasty Warriors at one point, so that's where I recognized.
I pursued Lubu, and that was the problem.
You shouldn't have done that.
I pursued him. I shouldn't have done it.
Yeah,
shouldn't have done it.
We've talked about it before when speaking about Wolong, but I think it's worth mentioning again for people that hadn't played it, because it is a new take on kind of a Souls-like game. The way that a level starts there in the bottom center of the screen where it says 17, they do a cool thing to where as you progress in the level and unlock the different flag points, which you can see in the top right-hand corner of the screen, as you get those, then your kind of like respawn/base level increases.
Fortitude.
Yeah, fortitude. And that basically impacts how much damage you will deal against other enemies who have a fortitude level themselves. And it's a really cool way.
Difference being the importance.
Yeah, the difference being the importance. It's a cool way to like. It's an interesting way to go into a level and not be completely over leveled to where it's not difficult. However, I felt like it was pretty easy to get over that number quickly. And then it becomes kind of irrelevant. Does that change at all? Like, I guess if I'm dying a lot more, then it would reset, but the game's not super difficult in that regard.
Not really. And the thing is as you progress in the game, you actually get more and more ways to tangibly interact with your morale levels. So like you get elixir. So in other words, when you start a game, you can down an elixir, or when you start a level, you can down an elixir and immediately gain 1 morale level. So I do have to say, and I immediately regretted not talking about this a little bit in my thoughts video that I made after I beat the game today. The morale level in this game is actually a super cool concept.
Yeah.
It's the idea where every time you enter in a zone, every time you play a map, you are basically almost RPG style leveling in it. And that difference makes it so like there's some levels, for instance, where you start the level and you go down, you can just go down the progress path, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5s kind of thing. Or you can go slightly off, like at the very first level, and there's a level 15 tiger, and you're like 3. And it's like, and that guy will hit you like a truck. And it's like, you have to make the decision. Like, do I want to go keep leveling a little bit and then come back? Or do I want to try to just man mode this tiger and just get killed a bunch of times?
But
and that kind of thing is cool.
The other thing too is if you die, that mob gets harder.
If you die, the mob gets harder. If you and your fortitude level is always your base level. So if you're being thorough, then you stay higher leveled. If you kill the mob, you get morale back. And then the big thing, and this is a big kicker, especially in later levels, if you get hit by a red attack, your morale level drops by 1.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That
so
sucks.
what that does is when you start getting to the later levels and like every single enemy is starting to, relatively use red attacks, if you're not perfect parrying, which I was not, you're kind of constantly fighting at the beginning. And another interesting thing is that the spells in the game, there's 5 different things. There's like a wood, metal, fire, earth, and water. I would say. Yeah. And you level those up and get spells. You can see in the bottom right of the screen down there. Those spells require you to be a certain morale level. So when you start a level, you can't just immediately cast your highest level spells. And that also, and something I didn't do, which I wish I had done, is the game actually has in any resting area preset things you can do. So you can have a preset spell loadout for 0 morale, and then you can have a preset spell loadout for 5 morale. And you can be constantly switching between them as you level up your morale through levels, so you constantly have spells. But what I did like an idiot is I just rode around with my highest level spells and just didn't do spells until I leveled up in each round. Yeah. Like an idiot. So, they give you the tools to do all that kind of stuff. Or you can just not deal with it like I did if you don't want to.
Yeah.
Ko, for you saying the game was like okay, you sound pretty excited explaining these systems here.
The systems are cool,
though, right?
Dude, the gameplay is the best part. Like the problem is that the rest of it really just like the story is like only there to move things along. The levels are basically Neo if you played Neo, and like I said, the last ones are almost identical. The fights are fun, and the gameplay mechanics are fun. They're the best part. But just again, everything else is kind of okay. And then again, you put the tech issues on top of it, and the whole package just becomes like okay.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I finished the game and I had a good time with it. Like it was a fun game, and exploring those mechanics and the crafting system and stuff, easily the best part.
Yeah, my experiences with tech issues, game ran fine, didn't really have any of that stutter wise, or didn't have the flashbang issue that Ko was referencing. I did fight a boss. In the middle of the cutscene after the boss, the game crashed, loaded back into the game, and it acted like I didn't beat the boss, so I had to fight the boss again. And that really sucked. So it's on Game Pass. So if you have Game Pass, you can grab it, and that's probably the best place to play it. Otherwise, I think it's a $70 game. But it's Koei Tecmo. Wild Hearts was another game by Koei Tecmo. The PC port of that was pretty rough. PC port of this is pretty rough. I can't speak to the console version of the game, but I don't think I've heard any complaints about it. It seems to just be the
I
PC
don't
port
know.
is a little bit
Yeah.
rough. Yeah.
When I was playing it, I had the same issue I had with Neo, which is like Neo's fun. It's a good game, but it's just like it doesn't pull me in like the Souls games do. There's just something there that From Software has in it that just pulls you in that Neo and this game just don't do for me. Like
Me and Co
I
were
had
having
fun.
this exact conversation
Yeah.
earlier. Yeah.
I was having fun with it. It's a fun experience, but it didn't feel like the need to go further than a few hours.
Yeah.
Like once I played a few hours, beat the first few bosses, I was mastering the pairing as I was playing very passively, just pairing and reacting to parries. And
Yeah,
I was just like
that's the
slaughtering
right way to
everything
do
that
it.
way.
Yep.
And yeah, it just like I just felt like when I had my first 3 hours, I was done with it. I'm like, okay, I feel like I felt most of the game, and like I don't really feel like I needed to continue. I didn't have that like that pull that somehow From Software puts in their games that every other game like it just somehow seems to miss something. I don't know what they do, but somehow they're just level design and like atmosphere is
unique
just
characters.
really good in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing about especially and I love Neo 2, but I'll be the first to talk critically about this. And this game suffers from that even more, where it's like you just don't really care about the story.
Yeah.
Like they try so hard to present you with like these characters and their problems and all this stuff going on, but it's like at the end of the day, it's like, man, it's just not doing it. It just doesn't do it. You don't in my opinion, I do not play these games for the story at all. It's like at all. So if that's the kind of thing where if that's something and Dark Souls, I feel like you almost always have at least a goal in Dark Souls. You're always moving forward. But in these games, if you're not a real fan of the gameplay and the mechanics in the loop, you don't get that feeling of going forward because the story's there, but you don't really care about it. And the progression is just the progression is just numbers and set bonuses and colors getting, going up. So in Dark Souls and games like that, there's this constant feeling of accomplishment that in these games you just don't really have in a lot of ways.
Yep.
Yeah, the Souls
That's how it
game
is
just
for me.
somehow
Yeah.
like the levels in this game in Will Long, like they felt like as JP was saying, it felt like Neo. I where like they're fun to combat in there, but they don't have like that mystery of like you hear a sound in a cave and you don't know what the hell that's going to be when you walk around the corner. Like that sense of fear or dread to like pull you around, and the maps were just kind of nice, but not like I didn't feel like I needed to explore every nook and cranny to get all the secrets because just felt something like there wasn't that tangible like desire to find out what's over in that corner, what's
You're just
in
like,
that
well,
cave, or
we just got to get through this shit map. You know what I mean?
Well, hey, you're not wrong, man.
A lot of ways.
Neo maps, from 1, Neo 2, and this game, the maps are very formulaic.
Very similar.
Very formulaic.
Yeah.
Very, very, very like they're there to kind of like again, kind of like the story, just to push things forward and give the player an arena to do, the gameplay and the mechanics. But
Yeah.
and every so often you get the forest map or the cave map and stuff like that. But
Well, that's my Twitter comment was a little bit made for Twitter, so I didn't get it. I got less engagement on it by being careful about my words. The best thing I could say about this game for me was in playing it, I just wanted to play more Elden Ring. Like it just made me want to play more Elden Ring throughout this. And I was like, well, maybe I'll get that randomizer thing and just like, see how that goes. Or maybe I'll check out the seamless co-op thing, the like mods to it, increase gameplay of Elden Ring, which are all fantastic from everything that I've seen about it. But it just reminded me of that world and made me miss that world that I had already spent, 100 plus hours in, most people that played Elden Ring.
I felt the same way about Neo 2, funny enough.
Oh, where you just wanted to play more.
This
Dark
game just made me
Souls?
want to play Neo 2.
Oh, play Neo 2,
Yeah, because like the mechanics this game is kind of like a simplistic version of Neo 2 in a lot of ways. They do away with a lot of the stances and the more complex combat system, or like basically a glorified health bar and a much simpler approach to just focusing on the parries and stuff. So when I got to the end of this one, I was kind of like, okay, now I'm warmed up. I'm feeling good about this. Now I kind of want to play the advanced version, like I want to play the kind of deeper version. And but I definitely feel you with that comment.
Yeah. So I think me and Co are in agreement saying like game's fine. It's 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 game if you want to. If you're looking for something to grind away at, play at, Souls-like, play this. It's on Game Pass.
If you are a fan of Neo content, it is absolutely worth a look on Game Pass.
Yeah.
Like there's enough fun gameplay in this to take a look if that's your thing.
Yeah.
If you're not a Neo fan though, this game will not win you over most likely.
I'd agree.
It's not.
Yeah.
not there.
Dan, you put it down for good, right? You played for like 3 hours and you're good?
Yeah, I didn't feel like I need to keep going.
Okay.
Kind of like Wild Hearts, which was I think better than this one. It just made me want to play Monster Hunter.
Sure.
Just like it
Play
was
the
good.
original. Yeah.
It had fun, but it had some cool ideas, but it just didn't draw me in like Monster Hunter does. There's something about like playing like these games, like it's close. It's just missing some secret sauce that the original devs of those original games like have in there that other devs just can't quite grasp. And I don't know what it is either myself.
Yeah. Yeah. And Sequisha, you don't play PS3 games, is what I gathered.
I didn't play this one.
Have you played any of the Neos, or are you pretty much like a
Neo? Yeah,
play Neo
Dark
and everything?
Souls.
Okay.
Yeah, Elden Ring. You know,
I knew you
like,
played
all
like
that stuff.
the From Software stuff, but I didn't know if you differentiated outside of that.
Yeah. Neo's cool too. It kind of reminds me a little bit more of like the Ninja Gaiden, like a little bit more
Or actually,
Devil May Cry-ish actiony, a little bit more rather than like the deliberate, you know. But yeah, definitely pretty punishing, which I enjoy.
Yeah.
But I definitely want. I don't know. There's something about this particular one that didn't seem like it was going to have enough to grab me. And I've been kind of knee deep in Path of Exile right now too. So
Yeah, makes sense. Dan, what have you been playing? What's been going on your channel?
My favorite type of game to stream is simulator games.
Okay.
And I've been playing for like a week this chef game where you just cook meals and run a restaurant.
Let's talk about it.
Like for
I
me,
would love to know more about this game. I've seen you streaming it for like the last week and a half almost.
yeah, it's
Like,
called Chef's Life, a restaurant simulator. And basically the basic gameplay loop is you're running a restaurant, you're the head chef, you have a couple sous chefs, you order from stores to stock up on ingredients, and then you make recipes. You have like it's broken up, the day's broken up into 3 periods: morning, afternoon, and service at the end. So the morning and the afternoon you get to like prep your meals, like put stuff in the fridge, you know. And it has some of the most highly detailed like recipes where you just do everything from chopping the onions to like slicing to putting the ingredients in the right place, cooking them in the right order. And for me, I love that kind of stuff a lot, where they like simulate stuff, because real life cooking involves a lot of cleaning, and this one doesn't involve any of that because it's fake.
They don't make you
So
clean.
I get
okay.
Yeah. And then the sous chefs will wash dishes for you, so I don't even have to wash the pans. Even fake tend to.
Okay.
So it's great. I can just like make recipes, and so so you practice recipes by making them. They have a lot of French and Italian cuisine. You grab ingredients, you prepare them. As you play, the game gets progressively more intense because the recipes become more complex. As you upgrade your recipes, you upgrade your skills, so that way eventually you become like a Michelin star chef, where you're making like really complex stuff. And then you have a service where you like cook meals that people order. You set the menu, and then it's just for me like a really fun simulator game for people that like to like pretend like they're running a business or a restaurant. But I've been obsessed with this game because it's complex, it's deep, it's a little bit buggy. There's some bugs the devs have been patching out, but I've been obsessed with it because it just appeals to me so much.
So is this an early game recipe that we're seeing here? Like where would you quantify this at?
This is probably a mid-game recipe where there's like, to make one meal, you have to do 5 steps. You have to first make a sauce. Then you make a stock to put it. Then you grill something, and then you combine those 3 ingredients into a stew, and then you go cook a topping for the stew, and then you go and you plate all the items together, and then it scores you about how well you did technically. Because during each recipe, you have to like sometimes put a lid on it, or put the right spices in at the right time, or make sure the right temperature. If you're messing that stuff up, it lowers the rating down. All while during service, they have like timers on the like a customer orders, and you have a certain amount of time to make that order. So you can prep ahead of time in the morning, try to make things quicker. But you got to rush and use your sous chefs to like help you make the meals in a time limit, or you can turn the time limit off if you don't want it, which is nice. But yeah, this is pretty in game. The recipes I'm practicing. It's in the afternoon, so I'm practicing new recipes. And then once you make a recipe once, you can add it to your menu, and then the menu determines like what meals you'll make during the service at the night where you make all your money and make the meals for customers.
So as far as like cooking game goes, if that's a
Mhm.
genre, most of those are like mini games. This is not a mini
Yeah.
game. This is not like a mini game. You're like
Like
practically
Plate Up is a Plate Up or Overcooked or
Yeah.
like little mini games. This is pretty complex. Like you slice the veal, you chop up the ingredients, like you do every step of recipe, and the recipes
you,
are
like,
pretty
spit in the
close to how
food
they're
and stuff?
actually made in real life.
Yeah, can you like
Unfortunately
fuck
not.
up the food? Okay. All right.
You can burn the food, you can mess it up entirely if you forget the wrong ingredients. It just goes poof. And there's difficulty settings, so you can like change it if you don't want to deal with that. You can make it so recipes never burn, or you have infinite time for the recipes if you want more of a casual experience. But overall, it's just very fun if you like simulator games, and it's about $30, so it's not going to break.
It
the
looks
bank
pretty
if
cool.
you're-
Yeah,
yeah.
it honestly
Now,
is
are
like,
you?
yeah. Go ahead, Cope.
I was gonna say, are you still playing it?
Yeah,
Or are
I'm
you,
like,
are you done?
I'm gonna keep playing because I've been playing for 7 days, about 8 hours a day, and I'm only about 3/4 through the recipe menu, and I'm starting to get to the really advanced recipes, the gastronomic as they call it, meals, where you start getting Michelin stars and stuff.
Wow, for
But
30
it's
bucks, that's good value.
a lot of complexity, and it's pretty challenging, and it's a lot of managing. If you like chaos and like managing a bunch of different crafting stations all at once, I think you'll like this kind of game.
All right.
Is there like a story or something that's like progressing you forward, or is
There-
it just the
Yeah,
simulator?
there's like little stories, like the sous chefs each have a little story, and they like have like little missions. People show up in the restaurant and will have like a goal, like we're having like a seafood week. We'd love you to make a menu of just seafood dishes or just vegetarian dishes, and if you do that, we'll give you extra money or give you some like coupons, and you can customize the look of everything from the tables to the kitchen counters to the floor, the walls, your pots and pans, your outfit, your character you make custom. That's why mine looks kind of like me, is you can make your own custom character.
Yeah, it's
And you can move
got the
all of the
stash.
workbenches in the kitchen wherever you want them to go. So you can swap it around. It's just the way I laid out my kitchen.
Huh.
Overall, as a simulator fan, super fun.
Yeah, it's honestly the first cooking game where like how much do you think you could actually go and try to replicate some of this? Like, have you learned any dishes that you want to try to make? Is it that
There's
in-depth?
there's no actual measuring of how much of something. You just magically always have the right amount, so
Got
that it is gamified. You don't have to peel the onions, but you do chop them. You don't throw away the stuff. It's little things like that. So it is gamified, but you at least can see most of what all the ingredients would be in most of these dishes, like duck confit or duck à l'orange or something.
Yeah.
It's really really cool. There's a lot of Italian dishes, so you like hand make pasta and the sauce, and then you mix it in the pan the way Italian chefs do. It's very fun, and you get to choose what your menu is each day. So, and if as you make the meals, you can make them more complex, and which increases the price they sell for, and also how many steps there are to prepare at each meal. So it's like there's a lot of complexity, and every single recipe has that upgrade system. So there's hundreds of recipes and in the game, and I've only unlocked 3/4 of them after 7 days of playing.
So you don't have any
Damn, that-
Michelin stars in your restaurant yet?
No, I don't have mission started yet.
Okay, you're almost there.
I think it's funny when the Chef's Life is like, all right, we're sitting down for a 24-hour stream of Chef's Life. Anyway, you're like ordering like food on Uber Eats or DoorDash or something while you're fucking making food for like fucking 12 hours straight.
That is a good point. It's one of those things that's like, that's a streamer. That's only a streamer situation of like, I got to get Uber Eats real quick, guys. Let me put this duck confit on the grill and then I'm going to get some fries and a burger.
Yeah, I will pretend to make a gourmet meal, but I'll actually eat some fast food or something while I'm playing.
That's great. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Is there like any DLC or anything for this? Like, is it just a $30? It's rare to see just a $30 entry for this type of stuff.
It's $30, and then they have a $10 DLC you can buy now, which comes out later this month, where you can make pizzas.
Oh, okay.
So it's going to be probably those ones where they have like little packs where they add more like things you can make over time.
It sounds pretty cool.
That sounds awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
It's the same devs, believe it or not, at Blood Bowl.
What?
3.
Wait,
Yeah.
what?
Huh?
I know. And ironically, the studio's
Wait,
name is
Nacon?
Cyanide Studios, which for cooking is a little sus.
Yeah.
Little suspect there. That's okay though.
Yeah.
Wait, so the same devs in terms of Nacon? Like who?
Yeah, Nacon is the publisher.
Oh, the publisher.
And then
Okay.
Cyanide Studio is a studio, at least on Steam, that may be mislabeled. Is they have them credited for Blood Bowl and some other games.
Yeah. Weird.
So that's what the Blood Bowl devs have been doing
Mhm.
instead of fixing their game.
Yeah, they've been cooking. They've been cooking. Awesome. Okay, I might check this out. This looks fun. It looks like a fun time. Can you skip if there's 3/4 of the game? Is it like too basic to be fun, or is it still fun regardless of like how in depth the recipes are?
It's fun if you as a player like simulating crafting stuff. If you're the type of player that likes to chop the wood and get the bolts and then make an item and then sell it. If you like business kind of games where you're like crafting things, I think this will really appeal to that kind of a game.
What are you making when you start off? Like gourmet peanut butter sandwiches? Like,
you
what
make
is the
like
base
steak
level?
and potatoes.
Okay.
You know, like a grilled sandwich, caprese salad, simple pasta
Okay.
from a box, and then you eventually make your own pasta. And then you like grind up the meat and make your own ground meat hamburgers instead of prepackaged. So the ingredients go up over time, and so does the complexity of the menus. And your staff becomes so good, they're a little bit broken, where you can just have them make every recipe for you and just sit there and just wait.
Man,
And after you level them up a lot, it takes a long time
Oh.
to get there, but they can just make a meal almost as good as you can, and you can just farm money if you just want to do that.
And then fire them. We're like, you two kid, get the hell out of here.
Unfortunately, in the
start your own
game, there's
restaurant.
you don't have a lot of control over the dining room or your staff. They're kind of chosen for you. So it's more of a restaurant simulator, a kitchen simulator, than it is really like a whole business simulator, because you don't pay your staff. They all work for free for some magical reason.
Well, let's get to, don't
Yeah.
let Twitter hear that.
All
We got to
right.
move forward quick.
I know.
What's the name of your? Do you get to name your restaurant?
Yeah, you can change your restaurant.
What's the
mine
name of
was
yours?
Dan's Alamim.
Nice, strong. It's good.
Yeah,
kind of perfect.
All right, that's
Sounded French.
Chef's Life, a restaurant simulator. Only PC. Does this have any console?
PC and consoles are coming this month. The console versions.
Oh, okay.
So
Cool.
Switch and PS4 and Xbox.
Wild. This is one of those things where I would never. It totally makes sense that this game exists. I would never know that it exists outside of you telling us.
Too
about
many
it.
games coming out all the time nowadays. A lot of them get lost in the cracks.
Yeah. There's they're all over the place. Sequisha, after Path of Exile, what's on your radar? I know you said you're kind of looking for stuff. What are you looking forward to?
Well, the next Dark and Darker test, that's a little ways out. That's April.
Okay.
This month, March. Yeah, so I guess that's like within a little more than a month. I guess there's Diablo 4 beta, what, in 3 weeks?
2
right?
weeks. 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weekends. Yeah, we'll be playing it 2
Okay.
weekends from now.
I'll try that finals thing out. Whatever closed beta, I'll figure out how to get in there. I don't know. Something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the finals, Diablo 4, we'll touch on that. The only thing about Diablo 4 they're going to be doing a bit different is I'm going in blind hardcore beta launch everything. So it's gonna be a fun experience for me. Because I know a lot of people want to go like softcore. They're like, okay, we learn the boss fights because this, it could be really rippy. Like, I'm gonna have a lot of fun going in there blind and just seeing what happens.
Yeah, it's a fun way to play.
Yeah.
It. What about like big releases for the year? What's your most anticipated?
That's a great question, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Dark and Darker is just like one of the ones that like I always just that's what I want to be playing right now.
Yeah, that's your
There's
jam.
not a whole lot of other things that are just they're not really sticking out. Resident Evil 4. I mean, like I love the like survival horror games. I love them. Resident Evil 4. Originally, when the Resident Evil 4 came out, it was kind of like they changed the fixed. Sorry, I keep banging my mic. They changed from like the fixed camera angles, and they kind of made it over the shoulder. And like I don't know. It kind of changed the game for me. It was kind of like the Pearl Jam of or survival horror. What I mean by that is like Pearl Jam. I enjoyed Pearl Jam, but like some of the bands that they inspired, wasn't a big fan of. Like Creed and Three Doors Down and all these other bands like that. So it was kind of like it felt like a step in a direction that was cool, but like wasn't good for the genre. Like Resident Evil 5 and 6 were
Bad.
Not
as great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Right. It was just a step in the wrong direction, but the remake might be cool. I know a lot of people are hyped about it, but
yeah. Okay, I'm going to ask you an important question here, Sequisha.
okay.
And you have to have a definitive yes or no type answer to this.
Okay, I'm ready.
Where do you sit with the new Zelda?
I don't know anything about it.
Congratulations, that's the correct answer.
No strong
well done.
feelings about the new Zelda. Nothing. Did you not touch Breath of the Wild at all?
No, I didn't.
Just
I was too
zero
busy
interest?
playing other stuff. Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, it's just not on. It's like not on my radar. It's kind of like if you asked me about some new mobile game, I try to stay off my phone, so I just wouldn't know.
Okay, I guess there's the elusive third answer, and I haven't played it. Yeah.
I think because like the console, I normally am just playing on PC, and it's been like that for a long time for me.
Yeah.
Consoles, I just don't touch.
Okay.
Or don't get the opportunity to, because it's
Sure.
not integrated into into the pilot seat.
Yeah. So do you play or have any interest in like the recently PlayStation's been bringing a lot of its first party stuff to PC. Are you playing any of that, like God of War or Last of Us later this month or anything?
I'll probably be touching on Last of Us.
Yeah.
There was something else too, right? Was it no? Well, I
what
did
else
play
did they
Dead Space
bring?
remake. That doesn't count. There was something else though. There was a Sony thing that I think I played recently, but it wasn't God of War.
What else have they? Returnal.
Returnal. I did. I actually really. What a really cool game loop. Did you guys play that?
Oh yeah.
Like
I think we all did.
just like you dying and then it like changing the story and like, but you still felt like you were making progress in the story. Like really cool way to do that. Although some of the I don't normally get like nauseous in like cutscenes and stuff in video games, even VR. But man, there were some scenes in that game of her like falling over and getting up, like really kind of made me kind of sick. It was kind of weird. Yeah, I don't know. It was really strange. Maybe it had something to do with like my frame rate or something. And some of the flashbangs were a little disorienting, but I really liked that game. I did not complete it. I went through one cycle of it where it returned back, or whatever. But
yeah.
Very cool game.
You returned.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Game was very, very good. I did a PC version playthrough. I did not. I played it on the console. Dan, did you touch the PC version of this? Nice. How did I find the one? I pulled up a literal 6-hour VOD, and the random click is of the game crash.
I mean, solid port.
It
right?
was faded.
Great port. The game's just flawless. It's so good.
Yeah.
I thought I was worried because I thought OBS had froze. I was like, are we dropping okay, the game's crashing. Hilarious.
This was one of those games that was just a surprise joy to play. I played it on PS5. It was just, I did the whole playthrough of it. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what to expect when going into it, but once you're into it, you're like, this is brilliant.
Yeah.
It's really
super
good.
cool game.
Yeah. So you didn't finish it? Do you have any aspirations to go back?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think just other releases have just been games pull me in different directions now. I mean, like things like Path of Exile, it's a deep hole, if you want to
we know.
get into it. There's a lot. There's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
And I've been saving all of that for myself to experience, So now we're kind of now is like the rainy day because it feels like there's not a whole lot of other things that are pulling me in right now. So
yeah. So PoE till dark and darker is what I'm hearing.
probably.
Oh man. Okay.
Unless like the finals beta is great. I mean, there's a lot of Texas Chainsaw Massacre game coming out this year.
Oh,
as
yeah.
well. We don't have an exact date, but the good old folks down at Gun Media, it should be pretty cool. I'm pretty excited about that. I'm a big fan of the asymmetrical horror games because the balancing in games like that is pretty challenging, but they can be a lot of fun.
Cool. Trying to think of like other. We got your Zelda take, which is not what I was thinking. You have Unique takes on things. Final Fantasy 16, is that on your radar at all?
I haven't seen the. It's not on my radar, but it might be something that I should probably force myself to get into and play.
Yeah.
At least touch on it and see. So whenever people ask me, I can tell them, like, hey,
you got an
game
opinion
sucks,
on it.
or I think it's great.
Sure.
I have some type of foundation.
I'm looking at other big releases here. Baldur's Gate 3. Are you a CRPG? Is that outside your wheelhouse?
I mean, I loved Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate 2, super cool. Baldur's Gate 3, I felt like I feel like the way that I operate on my broadcast, I can't play that game because I'm constantly getting interrupted by dialogue from the people in game.
Sure.
That's kind of like Atomic Heart. Like I was going to play that game, but it just sounded like it was just blabbering the entire time. Like that guy just would not shut the fuck up.
Crispy critters.
Yeah, I don't know. So I'm sure Baldur's Gate, for people that like that kind of stuff, are going to really enjoy it. I just like when I played it originally, or I guess the Act 1 or whatever, like I played it and just getting from one side of the room to the other one and like getting the party members to follow without falling off a cliff or an elevator and like one-shotting himself was like really challenging. And then getting interrupted by constant voice acting and dialogue all the time, like was really kind of, my mind doesn't, suit well with that.
Sure.
It's just,
Fair enough.
How do you Ko, you're a big fan of that, right? Or
Yeah.
or
You're destroying his
excited
dreams,
about.
right? The wedge is being put between the two.
I totally understand where Sequisha's coming from with that. He's definitely not wrong. I personally, like, CRPGs are my favorite kind of game. So that means that my tolerance for that kind of stuff is probably a lot higher, but everything he's saying is 100% valid.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I get it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The last big one, Sequisha, I have to know your take. Starfield.
I think it'll be pretty cool, but they're not known. Bethesda's not really known for doing multiplayer well. So like if you have this big vast like universe and the beast building and all that stuff, but you're alone in it, that kind of sucks, right? Is there going to be multiplayer for it?
No, I don't think there's any multiplayer
I think
for
it's
Starfield.
okay.
At least not
I think
that's
it'll
been
just be single.
announced.
Yeah.
Right.
And
I
that
don't
being
know,
like,
it sounds
we
very
think it's just going to
lonely.
be a giant. Yeah, we think it's going to be like a giant procedural thing, and that Todd is probably already 16 times himself and into a new corner with his big claim that it's all going to be like interesting stuff to explore and do. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of procedural, from what we understand. A lot of procedural.
Yeah, I mean, like that's cool to have, the interesting stuff like that, but without anyone to like share it with for such, in like your creations, that kind of sucks. So like, I don't know. Just a big fan of multiplayer and interacting with other people.
Sure. Yeah.
So
Understandable.
yeah,
I get it.
but it looks great. It looks great. It does.
That's a really interesting idea though that you just mentioned, because I mean there is going to be like literally hundreds of planets that are procedure there to explore, like being able to and there's base building, so like being able to bring your friends' bases into your planets, and like put like that would be awesome. Of course they're not going to be able to do that, but that would
probably not going to happen though.
Yeah. If anything, a modder will figure it out, right? Like
maybe, yeah.
If the game is open in that sense that you can mod it, maybe.
Yeah, kind of No Man's Sky. Yeah, like Ted's saying, like No Man's Sky.
I guess at some point we're just describing No Man's Sky, right?
Yeah, wasn't that the thing at No Man's Sky where they said it was multiplayer and then like it wasn't at the beginning?
At the beginning, that is accurate. Yep.
Kind of
something like that.
Yeah.
You could even go to the same place in the same planet and like stand in the same area and not see each other. It was just like this giant thing. Yeah, it was kind of
that being a thing, a point of contention at that point. I remember on launch.
They kind of said everything about No Man's Sky, then it wasn't, but now it kind of is. Like they've updated the game.
It's getting there. Oh, absolutely. Now it's totally multiplayer. Works great.
Here it's
absolutely.
in a good. Yeah, the game's in a good point now. I've heard. I haven't touched it, but
there is a reason that the game has come so far that you can literally say other games have pulled a No Man's Sky when they've gotten updated well or to a certain point. So I mean it stands alone in that field for sure in terms of how well it's done and it's still getting free updates. You got one like a week ago.
Yeah, we
had another huge free update
talking about it. Yeah, he's playing it. Dan, did you jump into it at all? I know you've been on the No Man's Sky hype for a little bit.
I try to jump in every update, see what's new and stuff. They always have like this thing called an expedition now, where it's like a series of missions, and when you complete it, you get like permanent cosmetics you can use on all future playthroughs.
Little
So I usually
FOMO.
jump in and do those. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Starfield's going to be perfect, and everyone else says any differently is just a hater.
Boom. Called out.
It looks pretty cool.
And to be fair, like Bethesda could
I think that's
release a
valid.
steaming pile of garbage, and modders will take that garbage and make it a goddamn brilliant paradise over the next 10 years. Like the modding community for Bethesda is insane. The stuff
Yeah.
they've done for Skyrim and that shitty engine like from 11 years ago, and they're still making stuff for it. Like that's just blows your mind. Is incredible.
Dan,
It's
how
going to
many?
be-
How
Funny
many?
enough, yeah. What's the one product you can't really mod from Bethesda? Fallout 76.
76,
And look
yep.
what happened.
That is true.
Oh, that game.
Yeah.
On launch, you guys remember the launch? Your frame rate was tied to like how fast you could move in game. And I had just built a brand new computer before I played that game, like top of the line, so I could look down to the ground, and I was going like 1,000 miles an hour, like running across, like past other people and stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, we've discussed Fallout 76 at
Uh,
length on the show for sure. It's
yeah.
it's been through its paces, I guess you could say. Yeah. Interesting game. Octopath 2. Cole, you've been playing it at night. Dan, did you play it at all?
Yeah.
Are you checking that out?
Play a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the combat is pretty much the same as the first game, which is great because that was
Yep.
the best part of the first game. Graphics got better. There's more voice acting. The characters are more interesting this time, and I think it's just a really good RPG.
Yeah.
And it's very, very, very chill. So if you just want to like, I recommend playing it like on a Steam. It plays beautifully on a Steam Deck. If you have a Steam Deck,
Yep.
play it in your bed. It's such a good game to just chill out on.
Yeah.
It's super, super cool.
It runs
Ooh,
well.
That looks cool.
Yeah, Ko, I have to
Yeah.
ask. This is a 60 to 80 hour RPG. Are you going to be playing it through that? Or like, where do you sit with it right now? Because you're playing on your night.
I'm gonna be
streams.
honest. Yeah, I'm about 8-ish hours into it, I want to say, and I agree with everything Dan just said. It looks better. All the first characters, stories, and chapters, and I've heard it just keeps up with this, are fully voice acted, so you can just kind of sit back and chill. It works great for my cozy streams in the evening when I just want to wind out the day and relax. Last night I drank a whole bunch during it. It was great. And I'm on the 5th character, working towards the 6th, gonna get all the chapter 1s, and then probably start working through the chapter 2s, or maybe just do a few characters all the way through. But here's the TLDR. If you would have asked me 3 or 4 months ago, I probably would have been like, it's kind of daunting, 60 to 80 hours in the cozy stream. But I mean, I thought that at the beginning of Chained Echoes.
Yeah.
And then I just played that every night for 2 weeks until it was done. And I absolutely loved the experience the entire time. And it was phenomenal. So could I play all of this? Absolutely. If it continues to hold my interest as much as it has. And I've tried to be so upfront with my community. I don't know if it's going to. I mean,
Yeah.
I got pretty far in Octopath Traveler 1 before I started just not liking some of the characters and finding them not interesting at all. And then I found that my gameplay turned into, like, I would have trouble enjoying the characters I liked because I knew that the ones I didn't were coming up. And it's like, it like tainted the good times with just like this, I don't even want to do that. I remember at one point during Octopath 1, I was like, can I just not complete this dude's story and finish the game? Is
Yeah.
that an option? It wasn't. But so far, like, I feel like the storytelling has been leveled up. I feel like the voice acting has all been good. The dialogue is still a little weak at times, and the writing is still a little weak. But the overall picture so far for every character I've played has been enjoyable. Like, every night I've ended with, and I'm going to play this for at least another night, just like I did last night. And tonight I'm playing it again, and we'll see if at the end of the stream I'm still feeling it. And if I am, we'll keep playing it. So that's kind of how I'm doing it. I'm not promising some massive playthrough. I'm playing it as long as I'm enjoying it, and so far I'm really enjoying it.
Cool. Yep.
Trying to manage expectations as best as
No, that's you're 100%. That's coming through because it's a 60 to 80 hour RPG, right? Like, it's a massive game.
It looks pretty
the-
cool.
Oh yeah.
To its
yeah.
benefit, I've been told and heard that it just keeps getting better. I've been told, like, the chapter 2s start getting super interesting. I heard some of the characters' chapter 3s are really interesting, and I heard the end of the game is awesome. So it's like, if it keeps this level of quality up, I'll probably end up finishing it. If it just keeps being as good as it's been so far.
Yeah.
I have a quick question. So if like say if I wanted to play this, should I go back and play the first one? Because I didn't touch either of them.
Oh,
No.
in fact,
No, okay.
there's a big writer guy on Twitter. His name is Jason Schreier. Love him or hate him. And he played through all of 1. And one of the reasons I started 2 was because one of his tweets was like, yo, I'm actually really enjoying this. And somebody asked him, do I need to play Octopath 1 to enjoy and play 2? He actually goes, not only do you not, but don't play the first one. Because you'll probably the second one is like so much better that it could like, like just play the second one. Like you want your experience to be the second one because it's that much better than the first one in his eyes.
Right.
So yeah, I mean it's a step up. And if you like these old school, and I'm gonna say it because this is really where it came from. If you like these old school JRPGs, like it has that feeling. Like it is classic, it looks classic.
Yeah.
I wasn't even feeling the story of the first one, and the gameplay, which is similar to the first one, was enough to carry me through countless hours of not digging the story, which is a huge component of these games. But yeah, I definitely recommend giving it a try.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of like Chrono Trigger and some of the scenes there, like the kind
Absolutely,
of,
yeah. Have you never seen the graphics of that game before? I'll try to find. If you haven't seen it, it's like an incredibly visually striking game.
If you also
this one
like
right here,
it,
the one we're talking about.
Yeah.
Sequisha, if you haven't tried it yet, shout out to also a game called Chained Echoes, which I recently finished.
Echoes. I think someone
Chained
mentioned
Echoes.
that recently. Yeah.
I started playing that game just to see what it was like, and 30 hours later, it's phenomenal. Like it's a really, really fun RPG.
Yeah, this is the cool old school stuff. Really,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dan,
really big fan of the older. That's when I liked Final Fantasies when they were more like that.
Oh, dude,
Not-
this game and Chained Echoes are right up your alley. Then
Chained Echoes is like a love letter to those games. It's basically like it's like a current day retro Chrono Trigger. Is the best way I can say it.
Yeah. Dan, did you check that out? Did you play Chained Echoes?
I haven't. I heard it's really good though.
Man, you should play it. Yeah, we're both.
I bet you'd like it, Dan.
Is there any voice acting in it, or is it just text?
I don't think
there's any voice acting. I had to think for a
second.
second.
I'm trying to remember. This Octopath 2 has tons of voice acting.
It's fully
way
voice
more than I
acted
was
from
expecting.
or not fully. I shouldn't say fully. Sorry.
Yeah, all the main stuff
The
seems to be voice acted.
chapter main story stuff. Yeah.
But Chained Echoes, I'm pretty sure does not. The first thing I thought of was, do I know what any of the characters sound like? No, I don't. So yeah, I don't think there's any. No, there's not.
Yeah.
Thankfully, but to its credit, it does keep the text relatively tight, so you're not like just constantly reading books. I don't really like reading on stream too much, and I was able to stream it with relatively no issues.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll check it out then. That sounds great.
It's really good.
It's a lot of reading, but it doesn't come in huge chunks between the gameplay.
Yeah, not like novels, like some games can be.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
How much does it feel on rails too? Like, or is there areas where you're like, we got a boss coming up, I think, so I'm gonna go farm this area a little bit.
Or is neither of the games are on rails? Really,
yeah, that's true.
Both of them are very like they're in Chained Echoes. Slight spoiler, but there is a mechanic that essentially lets you kind of go wherever you want. As you get towards the first like fifth quarter of the game, and even in Chained Echoes, like you finish the first kind of on rails beginning tutorial city area, and then instantly you're in like this giant sandbox that you can kind of go wherever you want to do. Octopath also very interesting. Octopath, there's 8 characters, and you pick any one of the 8 characters at the beginning, and at that point you can then go around the entire world collecting and learning about the other 8 characters, or you can just like pick a few characters and do their chapter 1s, chapter 2s, chapter 3s, or like what I'm doing. I'm going, just like I said, getting every single character before I start going into any of the stories more. You can do all the chapter 2s, then all the chapter 3s, or you can like finish the story of just some people. So it's very sandboxy in that regard. You can kind of pick your own story, focus on what you want when you want.
Yeah. And exploration is just crazy in this game. You can go
lots of side stuff.
Yeah. You can you'll just happen upon a random dungeon and it gives you an idea of like what level it is. And it's awesome. Like that regard, that type of stuff is awesome if you're just looking to explore. And you can skip. I don't recommend it, but you can skip the story stuff if you want to. Like at least chapter 1.
I mean, it's not like I'm like, I don't feel like reading today, it's nothing like that. It's just, some games like Baldur's Gate 3, the first act, I felt like it was just kind of constant, it's like, okay, all right, cool. Were you done yet?
I get it. I understand it. Anything else you guys want to bring up before we do some shout outs game wise that you've been playing? Looking forward to?
No,
Like a Dragon
I'm in
Ishin
my
is
own
awesome.
bubble.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we haven't talked
I'll just throw it out
Ishin at
there.
all. Did you finish Ishin? Are
No.
you done with it? Okay.
Oh, I've still got a good amount to go, but it's
Okay.
it's-
We'll
it's
wait
been
till you finish
phenomenal.
it then
Sounds
to
good.
discuss it in full. What about you guys watching Last of Us?
Oh yeah, I'm excited for tonight.
Same. I think tonight.
Tonight, right?
Yes. Yeah. Tonight's
I think it's gonna pop off.
second to last episode. I think it's going to be a really good episode. If you followed the game, tonight is the end of winter.
Mm.
So it
Cool.
could be really cool and good in that regard.
Mhm.
You liking it, Sequisha? Are you into it?
Oh yeah, yeah. And I actually didn't because I played primarily on PC. I haven't had consoles hooked up for a while. I didn't play The Last of Us or The Last of Us 2. So the remake, when that does, or whatever,
Later
the
this month.
remaster for PC,
Yeah.
yeah, that'll be a fun new fresh take for me. It'll be
Wait,
fun.
I've never actually spoken to someone that's only watched the show. So you have had no
Right.
spoiler. You have no idea where this goes.
Right, they're right. So you pretty much just spoiled everything. Talking about the winter thing, like
Oh my God.
I'm
It's
just
the end.
kidding. No, I mean like
For seasons?
so it's fresh. It's fresh for me.
Where do you, can I throw up the spoiler tag and ask where you think the show's going? Just because I'm so curious, because I don't
No,
talk to
no,
people
let's-
about where
let's-
we're going or about who have never played the game that are watching the show.
No.
Okay, you're not
Yeah.
interested? All right. Well,
Yeah.
I am curious if you put up
So-
thoughts or something on
Just
Twitter.
because if I
afterwards.
got it right, I
I don't want to.
to.
That's
Yeah.
true.
You know?
I don't want to
Right.
influence anything. Okay.
Right.
You are a unique unicorn in the world of gaming that is watching the show for the first time. So I'm trying to pull that information
Yeah.
out. But
Yeah, it'll be cool.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
cool. Dan, are you watching it at all?
I'm after playing the game so many times, I've just know the story ahead of time. I watched the first episode to see how closely it was following the games, and I was like, okay, I've had my fill. I don't need to go through the story for a fourth time.
Sure.
I get it, but I'll probably wait till they're all out and just watch it one time through, just to
Yeah.
You know,
I think
I'm
that's
doing.
what
see
Co's
how
doing.
their take
Yep.
on it is. But other than that, I think I'm kind of over The Last of Us because I've done it so many times in game form. I'm kind of getting jaded with the franchise
Sure.
personally.
Sure. Makes sense. Well, I will. Sequisha, are you tweeting your takes on it at all? Where can I find the Sequisha take on Last of Us episodes? I need to know.
Oh, I a lot of times too. I know because not everybody is going to watch it on launch, and some people are like, I really hate spoiling stuff for people. So I normally try to keep some of my takes.
Okay. I'll
about
just
that
shoot
type
you a
of stuff,
DM.
yeah, there you go.
I'll DM you. I'll get the insider info. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Good.
Cool. Let's do some shout outs and call it a show. We'll let Co and Dan go first. Sequisha, you can just do what they're doing since this is your first time on the show. Co, what do you got coming up? Where can people check you out?
Cool. First of all, big thank you to Dan and Sequisha. It was a pleasure having you two on today. As always, thank you to JP, and I think Zeke's back next week, so we'll see him then. I am Co. I'm currently playing Like a Dragon Ishin. We just wrapped up Wo Long today. We're doing Octopath Traveler in the evenings. Probably going to start up Phantom Brigade soon. We got a brand new game on the 10th called Bleak, which looks to be an open world Souls-like game. And I went way under my radar, so we're going to be checking that out. And then as we move into the rest of the month, we've got all sorts of indies and RE4 at the end and Dredge and lots of fun things. So hope to see you guys in for it. And if I don't see you then, see you next week for more Drop Frames.
Cool. Dan, do some shout outs.
Hi, I'm DansGaming, DansGaming on Twitch. I'm a variety streamer, currently playing through a bunch of different games, currently playing through Octopath Traveler 2, currently playing through the chef game that I'm not addicted to. I can stop at any time, just choose not to at this moment. And I'll be playing the hell out of Diablo 4 when it comes out.
Oh, yeah.
2 weeks from now, I'll be playing that like crazy when that comes out. But other than that, if you like me having on the sorry, I stutter a lot. If you liked me on the show, don't forget to give me a follow. And thanks for having me on the show. I love coming on and hanging out with you guys. You guys are really cool people.
Awesome stuff. Thanks so much for being on. Sequisha, do some shout outs. What's going on?
Hey,
Thank you for having me on. This was a pleasure. A lot of fun. I really appreciate it. I'm Sequisha. I do survival games, a lot of survival games. I will be playing a lot of Dark and Darker. I will be swinging axes and two-hand swords and being actually, I know Co's going to be doing that too.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
got a
buddy.
special place in his heart as well, and I'm
It
sure many of
does.
you will see it as well. But yeah, that Diablo 4, I'll probably be. I might touch on that too, but I'm just taking a deep dive into Path of Exile right now. You'll see me more first-person shooters, maybe the finals, and that's about it. Sequisha on all the platforms, Instagram, Twitter, and all that jazz. And yeah, really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun hanging out with all of you. Thank you for inviting me, JP.
Of course.
And I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for being on. Someone in my chat is asking if the stash is real. Yes.
Oh no, I take this. I can't wait till this is over so I can finally go rip it off in the bathroom, put it on its hanger.
The mustache's shrine.
He's got a little shrine where he sets. Well, yeah. Do you have multiple stashes or just one stash? That's the question. Do you have a
He's got his
stash for
holiday
every
stash,
day?
his party stash.
Yeah. Do you have like a stash for every engagement?
Little
Backup
glass
stash.
thing over it, like the rose from Beauty and the Beast. You know?
Oh, you jar the stashes. Okay, I
Right.
see. That's smart.
We got to temperature control them, JP. It's common stash knowledge. You know,
That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
you don't want them to curl.
That's
know,
true.
It's a mess.
Everyone knows that. It's common stash knowledge. I'm sorry.
Common stash knowledge.
Zeke will be back next week, like I think Co mentioned, and we'll figure out some guests and go from there. Thank you so much for watching Drop Frames. Sequisha, Dan, appreciate you both.
Thank you guys.
We're off
Thank
the
you,
week
guys.
after.
Oh, yes. And then there is no show, funny enough, the weekend of Diablo. So we will not be here the 19th. Yeah, that is the weekend of Diablo. So we'll talk about that. The weekend of the open beta, the 26th is when we'll return. So show next week. No show that week after the 19th. And then the show returns on the 26th. Okay? That's it. Thanks so much. We're out of here. Have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.